Fight me.
Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull gives you wings.
2, 3, yeah.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Hope this is the right place.
Hey, what's up, man?
Oh,
how's
hey,
it going?
man.
Good to see you.
Do you know how to get in? I think this is
Right. Hold on. Just hold up. They gave me a password.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is right?
Yeah. Tasteless gave it to me. Yeah.
Okay, all right. VALORANT Champions Tour Last Chance Qualifier Pacific 2023. Are you sure?
Hey, sorry,
what's
wait.
up, dude?
You guys
Hey.
didn't go in yet?
Well, we can't. This password that we got from Tasteless, I think,
Yeah.
isn't working out.
Oh. No, they update the password every act, so this one's out of...
Oh.
I heckin' love tens.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. All right.
Let's go.
All right.
Oh,
All right.
neat little place.
Yeah.
Interesting spot.
I'm pretty sure this is where CGRS was preparing for
Oh, is this
Masters.
a
Yeah, this is
little
his jail.
dungeon?
Yeah, the dungeon where he's preparing.
Little
yeah,
time
yeah.
chamber that he escaped
Yeah,
from and
exactly.
carried paper X?
Yeah, Alex stuck him in here and he couldn't get out. Yeah.
I mean, Masters was crazy. But it is time, obviously, Tokyo just finished, and we gotta wrap things back to Pacific. Obviously, we had a great year, and I mean, Paper X getting third at Tokyo helps, right? Kind of put that little cherry on top. First of all, before we go through all the teams, we have to remember what this is for, right? So this is for the VCT Last Chance Qualifiers Pacific 2023, and we do have a bit of an interesting format because there's only 7 teams. To summarize, basically what's happening is seed 10 through 6, they will have to go through a single elimination gauntlet style in the beginning, but then seeds 4 and 5, thanks to their performance, they will already have a bye into the double elimination section of this tournament at Last Chance Qualifier. But at the end of the day, it's all for that one spot to move on to champions.
So if you are one of those teams that had that rough start or, that wasn't able to pick up any wins, this is truly your last chance.
Let's talk about that team. What were some of the strengths that we were able to kind of pick out during the regular season?
I mean, for DFM, we saw some very big strengths in the likes of Anthem, who came into the squad and came into the season. We're like, okay, how is he going to perform? And I think that he was kind of one of their top performers. One of the big things that I'm curious to see, again, goes back to what does this starting lineup look like? Because this has been a team that has been tooling around with a lot of different things. Initially, we weren't seeing Soldom at all. Suddenly, we're seeing Soldom in. Then it was going to be Suggest out. Then it's Rada out, etc. With the time that they have they settled on a core 5 that will finally be able to get them that win and get them, into that next matchup in the LCQ to have that hope, that dream run to make it over to champions? Because if they could pull that off, then I think it's the storyline of the year. I think that would absolutely supersede CTRS helping to get Paper X into 3rd place at Tokyo. I think that would just take the spotlight globally.
And players like Takajay and others really stepping up as well. We saw glimpses from them of brilliance. Takajay and that Viper at times looked really, really good, but we need more from DFM.
Who do you think is kind of the main foundation for this team? If you had to pick one player that maybe you really should rely on as a core, maybe it's just because of the position they play, maybe it's the style they play.
I mean, I guess Takajay's been kind of a solid controller. I always looked at him as like this guy who's a lot of times has been talked about as a cracked aimer. He's the guy that has some of the best mechanics in the region. I'm looking to him to kind of step it up and have good performances on that back line for DFM.
I know you had mentioned Anthem obviously on the scoreboard, looks pretty strong. Is that kind of who you would be looking at?
I think so, just given that he is the IGL, he is the one who's trying to make these shot calls, and I think that if he's able to clean up in that regard and be able to really guide the team, we already know that he can just put bullets through people's skulls. We also know that he can have some nice calls, but if he can make that a bit more consistent, then perhaps that's going to be good enough for them to be able to finally get those wins.
Let's talk about another team that actually didn't show that much promise in the beginning and really was a late bloomer, so to speak, Talon.
Yeah, I mean, Talon was having a tough time in some ways similar to DFM, where they're trying to figure out who's playing what roles, trying to get Pat reintegrated into the roster, trying to situate themselves in terms of who's IGLing, who's doing all the various things for the team that need to be done. And yes, eventually they did find it, but it was kind of too little too late.
We saw Pat playing pretty much as many roles as RB has played throughout the season. At the beginning, they were really trying to figure out what do we integrate him on, and then at the end, it just kind of came to the same conclusion that I think all of the fans were hoping for, which was Pat playing Duelist. We got to see him playing the Raze, a couple rounds on the Jet as well, and it looked excellent. And I can't help but wonder, had they just done that from the start, maybe he didn't have his confidence back because he recently had his wrist surgery and whatnot, but Maybe.
Like you guys mentioned, once they started to figure out roles and things like that, we saw that Talon was still a team that understood their own color, right? Their own style of aggression, their own style of set plays, a little different than the DRX or the Paper Rexes that we already have in Pacific. But they kind of like to take a lot of these high-risk, high-reward kind of all-in style of plays. And, you know, when you have players like Pat or Garnets, it works out. Now, let's talk about specific kind of players that you think really stand out. I mean, I guess we're all talking about Pat. He's always been the superstar. Do you think, though, that that is the center of this team?
Jit boys.
Ooh, I like that you brought this up.
Like, or if Sushi's back in, I'm also fine with Sushi. But,
one of the boys.
Jit
One of the boys.
boys.
One of the boys.
In his, yes, one of the boys. I think that his utility timings are absolutely top notch, as well as his fragging. And when we are in this very aggressive mid-round pivot-centric meta where you have to be able to react on the fly, having somebody who's got great util lineups that has great timings is absolutely paramount. So I think that Jit Boys is going to be one of the most valuable people on this team.
So I'd really like to talk about a team that I think we're all really impressed with, that really just kept getting better and better and better throughout the year, to the point where we thought maybe they'd be one of the teams going to Masters, and that's RRQ.
Global Esports. Oh, okay.
You know, I was racking my brain too. I was like, what is it? Global Esports, RRQ, Team Secret? Like,
But I think RRQ probably one of the best of the bunch in terms of like improvements throughout the year, what we saw with them. I was really excited to see them just get so much better towards the end.
Going into lock-in, didn't have a strong showing. Elox says, okay, you know what? We didn't play like we normally do when we're scrimming. And everyone goes like, yeah. You always look better in scrims, whatever. But then they showed how they do actually look in scrims. The performances that we were seeing from everybody on that team, but Xfero in particular, just stunning to see.
what impresses me the most is the improvements weren't actually off the back of one player. Sure, Xfero is fragging out all the time, but the wins they got weren't always because of Xfero, it was because of the team. And to me, that's like, okay, so you have someone to fall back on, but overall you're finding your own style, you're getting your own interpretations out there on the map, in the server, and making it work. I think this team really has come together and finished the entire puzzle for that project that they've also had, right, of kind of combining two different regions together and proving themselves. And they were just so close to making it to playoffs and maybe even going to Masters Tokyo that I would love for them to take this last chance, literally, to be able to make it to an international stage and kind of redeem themselves from lock-in where everyone said, okay, this is by far the worst team in Pacific.
I already kind of teased them up here as we're getting to talk about RRQ. So of course, like I want to go on to talk about global esports. Let's just take all of these players from different regions. Let's just take 5 duelists and see what the hell we can mold out of them and then see what happens. And I think that overall, even though they didn't make it in the playoffs, it was a pretty big success.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, a lot of people questioned the comms language, right? And the role situation, like you said. And then on top of that, like the coaching and IGLing, is it gonna mesh well? You have so many different styles from different regions. But quite frankly, I mean, the coaching staff and then Aaron as the IGL, they've really figured out a way how to handle this entire squad.
The player that I want to discuss for this team, which I think has to be SK Rossi, as much as I would love to say, oh, it's Aaron for his calling because, you know, he's always been good on the defense, but we're seeing him trend up on the attack. I think it has to be kind of centered around SK Rossi because when he is fired up, when he is right there playing alongside the likes of Texture, Bazzi, etc., who've been fragging out of control, the team does look unstoppable. They look like world beaters. We're nearly able to take down DRX towards the beginning of the season. But I can only hope that with the downtime, they've been able to work with Rossi to make sure that he does feel more comfortable, that he is willing to make for more calls, to go for more aggressive and selfish plays that are backed up by the rest of his squad. Because if that is the case, then I think Global absolutely a contender to be able to make it over to champ.
Yeah, and I think the follow-up for me, I think the obvious person would be Munyet. How nuts he was throughout the year, right? I mean, just absolutely phenomenal throughout the year. There's no other word to describe the way he played. They literally gave him the nickname on the team, Demon Yet, right? The Demon Munyet, and he's just like so good. But the player I actually am really curious about is Bazzi, because if this is initiator meta, he's got to be the guy. We saw some great performances towards the end of the year from him. I think he needs to be the guy that's reacting to SK Rossi when SK Rossi calls for plays.
Okay, the next team we gotta talk about is, again, one of the Japanese teams. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see either of them at Masters Tokyo. However, there's still a lot of hope for kind of the team that always represented Japan, which is Zeta Division. And I just want to add, Chamber got buffed, so it's looking like it's a bright spot here for Zeta Division and Laz if he goes back on the Chamber.
I mean, that, and we also did see some moderate success from Chamber at Masters Tokyo, particularly coming down to that final. We saw Unbind EG coming out with a Reina Chamber composition.
Yeah, wonky.
A bit bizarre for sure, but we were seeing some decent value found from the Chamber, but we'll have to just wait and see. I think that if he can get back onto a pick like that, that could be a big boon for them. But at the same time, he was also looking a lot better and more comfortable on Initiator by the end of the season. I think it would be a nice little cherry on top of the end of the season if we can get to see them in front of the champs crowd.
You got to give Laz the opportunity to do what he does best, and that's frag out. And he is their best player. I mean, when he's on, as good as Depp is on the Jet, on the duelist role, Laz is the superstar. Laz was the guy that was getting them over the line last year at Reykjavik. So you got to put Laz in positions where he can utilize his natural gifts that he has.
I actually want to focus on a different player for that exact reason, is Depp, right? When he frags out, I mean, he is at the top of the board. I mean, he was topping a lot of the different stats during Pacific as well. And because of that, a lot of other competitors and coaches I've heard has also kind of picked him as potential MVP, right? If you had to pick one player from another team, like Depp's that guy, like he's the guy on Zeta Division. So if he gets on a hot start, right, on that Jet, and he's able to frag out, maybe even with the Operator, which he was so good with towards the later half of the season, again, maybe that's the start of kind of this fairy tale run all the way into Champions. Next, probably your favorite team to always talk about in Pacific, right? Let's get that through.
You don't even need to tell me. It's Team Secret, baby. Let's go. I'm really excited about this team as usual because they're a really solid team. The fundamentals are really good. Warburg talked about this when we interviewed him at the beginning of the year. The thing that he really focused on when he came to the team was their fundamentals, just making sure that their protocols are in place, their communication is good, all of these things that he had to sit down and really kind of go back to basics with the team to get them, in a modern phase of Valorant. That should be accomplished, right? We should be there, we should be good. We saw it against DRX, they should be ready to go. So now it's just a matter of finding those new levels of protocols, awareness, reactions, understanding of the game, understanding of their opponents, and I think we will.
Now, let's talk about the key players here, because Envy's been popping up nonstop. And I think both in terms of the player who has to perform and has continued to perform, we gotta focus on Envy, right? We've been talking about Initiator meta. He's playing that Initiator. He's been one of the hottest fraggers that this team has had. And he's one of the younger talents that is gaining this confidence. If he can continue that streak, start off strong, set up his teammates while fragging out, I mean, that's the entire package that you could hope for.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. But I disagree with you. Because the person that I want to see, again, talking about initiators, is Jesse Bash. Are you going to play something other than Sova? Because
now you can play on a Fracture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good. We've done it.
I'm fine with that. Calm has shown us that Sova on Fracture, good. But even Calm does not play it on maps like Lotus. Yes, they've had some good trap plays in the past, but they either need to invent so many more trap plays on Lotus, or they need to just get him shifted over onto a different pick, because teams will have been able to study every single setup that they go for on that map by now. So do you innovate, or do you just put him on something that's a bit more stock standard that he can still thrive on? That's what I'm going to be curious to see.
All right.
This is the last team. It's Gen G.
Okay.
I like Gen G. I love the players on this team, but just pull at my heartstrings at every twist and turn throughout this season, because it's this hot start. We're like, okay, Gen G, the performance at Lock-In versus Loud. Gen G's looking like the #2 team here in the region. And then again, they still just kind of stumbled at the end. So I have a mixed relationship with Gen G. I am hoping that they show us the team that kicked off this season.
So the player that I'm really keen about for them coming into the LCQ is TS.
You just can't get away from TS, right? Team Secret.
Team Secret, yeah, that's it. Look, I think for TS, like, he had a really good start to the year when the whole team was playing well. It seemed like everything was going great. He was playing great. He's calling great games. The comms were good. And as soon as they lost that one match, just everything fell apart, and that can't happen again. So that has to be on him, not only as the IGL, but as like the leader. He's the oldest player on the team. And also I'd like to see him be back on like the Brimstone on Fracture and things like that, because his Brimstone is really, really good on that map. So I need to see Gen G be willing to kind of go with, what was working, because I don't know, that Fracture change-up that they had didn't really.
How about TS back on Sova? How about TS back on Initiator and then Sylvan?
You were just telling us we don't need to see so much Sova earlier.
Okay. If it's TS on Sova, I'm more than happy. Because we've seen so much Sova from Jesse Bash, and I've seen none of it from TS.
I think what we're all agreeing on is clearly a very good team, really good fundamentals, good calling when it's working out, but we need to see changes. Yeah, we need to see changes to the composition, changes to the ideas of Valorant, basically, here for Gen G. So we talked about all the teams, and of course, as is tradition here on GCT Pacific, we gotta make our predictions. And here's the thing, we've seen the potential, and we've seen kind of the 2% that they're missing, right?
Fine.
So which team brushes up?
I'm going Zeta. I'm going Zeta Division. I just feel like maybe they'll start playing Chamber, Laz will start fragging out again, 10 will be back to normal, Depth's just a monster. That's That's my logic.
I would love to see Global because I think that they had such a strong run back. I love that Aaron really started getting a lot stronger on the attacking side of calling, and I think that with them kind of figuring out the starting roster by the end of the season, I think they can absolutely get it done.
Yeah, this whole time I'm like listening, I was actually kind of hoping that
Thinking
you would.
desperately.
Well, no, because I have a team that I want to predict, but this team has claimed that I have cursed them every time I have predicted them, which is. You guys, which is RRQ,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And now that I've put it out there, I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't be upset with either of your choices. I think that
Yes.
honestly,
Yeah.
no matter which
I'd
team
so
ends up
hard.
making it, I think that there's going to be a lot of potential there for them to find some upsets over champs.
Well, that's all the 7 teams that will be playing here at Last Chance Qualifier Pacific. Don't forget to tune in on July 18th. It goes all the way through the 23rd, so 1 full week of action to determine who will be the last team from Pacific joining the rest over at VCT Champions in LA.
I wish I was first.
You gotta go for your boomer bros, man.
I mean, but I can't pass up on Manette. I mean, it's just he's-
No, but you absolutely can.
after the game ends, it's really break our heart.
Zeta Division will not be played in Tokyo.
We won't give up, we will emerge.
Team Secret,
Global Esports,
Talon Esports.
DFM가
저희 젠지는 for the power of friendship.
諦めないで勝ち上がります。もう一度チャンスがある大会なのかなと思います。
Hapon sa inyong lahat and welcome to VCT Last Chance Qualifiers kung saan maglalaban ang 7 out of the 10 teams from the Pacific League para sa chance na makapasok sila sa VALORANT Champions 2023 in Los Angeles, California. Magandang hapon ulit, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Filipino broadcast of VCT Last Chance Qualifiers. Ako nga pala si Rubix ko, ang inyong panel host for the next 6 days. And together with me on the panel is Ray Ray and G10. So guys, kamusta naman kayo?
Ang saya-saya ko ngayon, syempre. Pero ngayon naman excited ako kasi LCQ na finally, nandito na tayo. Pero nga lang, syempre, there can only be one team. But anyway, I'm so happy with, again, to be here. Ikaw naman.
Me, okay naman ako. As you said, one team is going to magwawagi and that team is going to be Team Secret. Alam niyo yan. Pero unang-una sa lahat, I'm so happy to be here again with our wonderful host, si Rabisco, and our nagagandahang birthday girl, si Ray Ray herself. Ang ate Ray Ray nyo, +1 na naman.
Pero guys, let's go. So, nandito na tayo sa day 1. Let's have a vibe check. Based on what we've seen from the regular season, what are the changes that you've seen sa mga interviews na nakita natin sa videos that we've seen on stream?
All I can say is that they highlighted yung number 1, si Jessie Bash.
Yes,
And second, si TS. Tapos sinabi nila Team Secret.
They got it, di ba? Napunta yung joke sa international broadcast.
Nakikinig sila sa atin. Nakikinig sila. Pero yun nga, gusto ko yung sanabi nga nila na isa talaga sa pinaka-inaabangan nila mag-Sova is si Jessie Bash. And now that it's workable in other maps, I'm excited for that.
Sa wakas, pero he is yung pambasang Sova main natin. There are some maps that Sova is not the ideal agent. Pero syempre, kung si Jessie Bash yan, papagana niya yan. Alam mo yan.
That's right. And speaking of agents, nandito na tayo sa 7.0. This is the patch now our players are going to be playing on dito sa tournament natin. But in this patch, we have a Deadlock being introduced and more on regular play. You know, you can see her in your comp in unrated lobbies. Pero she will not be played dito sa LCQ, unfortunately. Pero what do you think na she'll bring to the season when she comes hopefully in Champions?
Alam ko na it might take time for teams to actually just study this agent at the same time. But then looking at champions, sa tingin ko may sama na magpo-pull out dito. Especially kapag press W team, di ba? Kasing si Deadlock, ilalagay mo lang eh. Tatapon mo lang and everything is workable. Lalong-lalo na yung ultimate that we've been talking about.
I feel like she is one of those agents that must intuitive, for players that like to flex. You don't have to study lineups as much. I mean, I feel like she's a lot more intuitive than Gecko kasi diba nung labas si Gecko and people started trying him out in Ascension, or not Ascension, Pacific League. It was a little bit iffy pa rin, pero now that may medyo gamay na kay Gecko, he's not really still seeing a lot of play. I feel like when Deadlock comes out in competitive, pagdating natin sa VALORANT Champions, there will be a lot of strats that revolve around using Deadlock, especially when you put a player on Deadlock na usually is the anchor or the lurk, and then you 1v1 situation, you have that ultimate GG.
Speaking of 1v1, we have Kang Kang who made it through the Chinese LCQ, so we're going to be having FPX, EDG, and Bilibili Gaming. So, napaka-useful yung Deadlock for those 1v1 situations. Naalala ko pa rin yung clip ni Dubstep when yung first release ng Deadlock where he died to a Cypher, pero he casted the ult and then he was just laughing. Naalala mo yung clip na yun?
Yes, nakita ko nga yun eh. Like, baka ito na kagad yung, pag nakapasok yung Team Secret papuntang Champions, maybe that's where we're gonna be seeing maybe Dubstep on that Deadlock, diba? Uy, exciting.
Honestly, I feel very, very confident for Team Secret dito because, they were in the middle of the pack during Pacific, pero they are at the top of the pack now. But we're going to be looking at the tournament format that our players are going to be playing on dito sa LCQ.
VCT Masters Tokyo was a superheated tournament where we could get a glimpse of the infinite potential of VCT teams from each region. With Masters over, we look ahead to Pacific Last Chance qualifiers where teams will be competing for the final qualifying ticket to Champions in LA. The 7 teams that ranked 4th to 10th in this year's VCT Pacific regular season will compete during LCQ for a spot at the VALORANT Champions. These 7 teams will be seeded into brackets based on their regular season performance. LCQ will consist of both single elimination and double elimination rounds. The bottom 5 teams will kick off the tournament with a series of single elimination rounds played in best-of-3 format. Once the winners are determined, they will face the top 2 teams in double elimination rounds, also in best-of-3 format. The lower bracket finals and the grand finals will be played in best-of-5 format, and the winner of the grand finals will secure the one and only remaining spot for the VALORANT Champions. LCQ, the final battle for the VALORANT Champions, will take place for 6 consecutive days, from July 18th to 23rd in Seoul, Korea. Which team will board the final flight to the VALORANT champions from the Pacific region? Stay tuned to see which team will snatch the last ticket to VALORANT Champions 2023.
And there you have it. Tulad nga ng nakita natin sa video, this is how our tournament is going to pan out. So yung bottom 5 teams natin from the Pacific League will be competing in a single elimination. So that's going to be our match for today between DFM, Talon Esports, Global Esports, RRQ, and I believe Genji. So Team Secret and Zeta Division, they have that bye into the double elimination. So safe sila at the moment and very, very good head start for them in the league.
Well naman, napakalaki ng pressure for our first 2 teams ngayon, di ba? DFM together with Talon. Napaka talaga. This best of 3, tapos single LM pa will really give like that the pressure. And how can they handle that? Papakita talaga na natin yan.
That's right. And you know, speaking of the pressure that we have here, syempre, you know, over the past 2 months, there's this pressure for our players to improve and grow. And I think na some of these players that we've seen from the Pacific League who've definitely shown, we have Anthem from DFM. And I think na, you know, DFM has this very well-rounded team. We have Takej, but also Anthem, who's able to kind of bring out that well-roundedness to the rest of his team.
Speaking of Anthem, di ba, ang daming fans ni Anthem, not just because of DFM na malaki yung fan base, but at the same time, he made the most out of those clutches. Even if natatalo talagang DFM, si Anthem talagang nagpa-pop off, very consistent. A lot of flashes are up until him. Tapos kunyari, may nagkakaroon ng clutch sold down before. It's all because of Anthem's support, diba? Really a good guy that has an impact and has a good value sa team niya.
Yeah, the great setup talaga. And he's one of the, as you said, more consistent players for DFM in a team that really has not shown a lot of consistency so far. Pero kung si Anthem, he can keep the team propped up, I feel like DFM has a better chance now.
That's right. And on the topic naman of Japanese teams, I think Sugar Zero from Zeta Division is definitely giving us a great performance during the regular season. He lives up to that clutcher reputation na meron yung mga majority of controller players. And I think that he really solidifies Zeta Division.
He's one of the best Astra players out there. We gotta give it to him. Yung mga rounds na kunyari 11-11 na, and you really needed that crunch time. Si Sugar Zero yun nandun. Even if Laz isn't popping off, at least when you trust this person to actually get those rounds workable, siya kagad yung nakikita natin parate.
Yeah, even though, he's one of the better Astra players, he's been on that Omen talaga a lot of the time. Most of his matches in VPL, nag-Omen talaga siya. And he's exceptionally good at keeping it clutch for his team. And even though, Laz yung usually fina-focus natin, diba? When the conversation is in that direction in Zeta Division, but he's kind of underrated, si Sugar Zero here. So I'm excited to see what he can bring to that 2 seed.
That's right. And speaking of our 2 seed in terms of from top to bottom, let's talk about Team Secret with Envy, because again, I really feel confident for them dito sa LCQ, because they finished in the middle of the pack during the regular season at ngayon they are at the head of the pack, and to lead that charge is Envy, and kaya niya mag-frag out while also at the same time setting up for his team.
Konti na lang isa na lang, diba? Papunta na sana sila ng champions, but right now that they're here in LCQ and Envy, a lot of people had like at least expectations sa kanya. But when we started yung VPL run, lahat sila na-impress on how good he is, not just only sa mga utility play niya, but when it comes to him out-fragging a lot of people. Para siyang duelist, technically.
If Envy has 1,000 fans, I am one of them. If Envy has 100 fans, I am one of them. If Envy has 1 fan, that fan is me.
Wow!
If Envy has no fans, wala na, pumanaw na ako. Pero yun nga, he's such a good fragger. Team Secret, this is one of their better pickups talaga for a long time. And he really ties the team together, I feel, with the leadership of Jesse Vash and the performance of his other teammates. Envy can shine in his team.
At such a young age.
Yun
talaga. He started out here in VALORANT, I think 15 or 16. And ngayon, fast forward, tignan nyo guys, ganong at that age talaga, I'm really impressed with Envy.
That's right. Talaga yung mga young talent mix with the veterans is just such a good mix that we see. But so excited to see these players and their teams back in action. But speaking of reflections, let's take a look at what our players have to say after they run it back on their performances sa Pacific League in this short video.
It's a pretty on-the-spot question.
We're gonna have to pass. Hi, I'm Zenfree.
This is Jesse Bush.
This is running back.
Super important. I can't lose. Our last chance for redemption.
이거 놓치면 이제 죽는다. 작년에 LCQ 때 이디지한테 져가지고 이번은 진짜 무조건 가야 된다.
The only chance can show to our fans that we can really be the top teams in Pacific.
Can actually be with the top dogs, I'd say.
ほとんど大事なイベントだし、全力で勝ちに行かなければならないものだと思ってます。Biggest regret was not playing up to my potential.
되게 멘탈적으로 아쉬웠다.
I let the pressure get to me and it kind of get into my head and couldn't do my best.
I wasn't good enough tracking the team down. I wasn't myself at all. We had problems within the team. Really sad that we couldn't pull through.
Changes we've made during the season messed with us mentally and kind of took a toll on us.
特に後悔はないですね、正直。Communication, discipline. We could have been more consistent, implementing like more strats and setups.
전부. 준비는 좀 잘 되고 있는데 팀적인 부분은 아직 더 연습해야 될 것 같아.
Everyone's really now very vocal about individual mistakes.
We have a more defined role.
Work together to the end goal together.
We're going to have a set roster, and I think that's going to really make sure that we're going to be consistent throughout the tournament.
So I think it'll be better. LCQ.
RQ. We shouldn't have lost to them.
On the first map, we were destroying them. I don't know exactly what happened.
It was just unlucky, you know?
Against Gen G, I think we could have done better.
Gen G, we still haven't won against them.
제타 TV죠? 질 것 같지도 않았고 엄청 할만하다 느꼈는데 결과는 다르니까.
ゼータディビジョン。思ってたよりボコボコにされたので、ボコボコに仕返してやりたいですね。
T1 ですね。プレーオフの最後の試合が T1 戦で、あそこは勝ちたかったなって思ってます。
DRX, I think we're the better team.
Monyet is definitely the rising star.
I'll say myself, I'm a rising star.
저는 이제 조크고요.
Xfero, good decision, good game sense. Dubstep, when he's online, everything will be very easy for us.
10です。シュガーゼロ。最近楽しそうなんで。Suggest he's gonna be back stronger than ever.
多分タケ J です。とてもフレッシュな選手だから、やっぱり。
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to VCT Last Chance Qualifiers. At ngayon, we're gonna be kicking off our first match. It's gonna be DetonatioN FocusMe versus Talon Esports. So guys, pag-usapan natin ang DetonatioN FocusMe kasi I think out of all the teams na nandito sa LCQ, DFM is the most hungry for a win. They're running that six-man lineup with Suggest, and I'm hoping to see that they've integrated him better after the past few months.
I mean, we had like almost 2 months, diba, for them to practice. And now that they put ito si Suggest, will it be worth it? Yun talaga yung pinaka, question mark sa kanila. One time, big time lang ba to? Itong roster nila na with Suggest, or maybe baka mag-regret sila at the same time. But with DFM, hungry nga, sabi ni Rebby, I think it's not just being hungry. It's about finishing it strong here in LCQ.
Yeah, that's true. Pero also, they have had a change sa administrative staff nila, sa coaching staff. So, nawala yung isang coach nila, and he was replaced by Ray. Ayan, may isa na namang Ray tayo. Parang ilang Ray na tayo.
May Rayta as well.
May Rayta din. Pero yun nga, because he's the tactical coach, diba? So that means he's the one in charge of planning their strats and really kind of dissecting how to make plays. Kasi a lot of the time, nakikita natin in DFM, they're really reactive and kind of relying on their aim instead of being proactive against a lot of teams. So maybe that's going to change here, because if they don't change that specific factor sa playstyle nila, it's going to be very easy for Talon to dismantle them.
That's right. Over the past 2 months, we really hope now they've figured out these issues that they've experienced nung regular season. But wag natin kalimutan ang opponents nila for today. It's gonna be Talon Esports, and I think I want to say that this team could have gone so much further sa regular season natin, and I think that they just came online a little bit too late. Kasi malakas yung player lineup nila, and their performances improved so much towards the end of Pacific League play.
Medyo nagtataka lang din talaga kasi ako sa Talon. everyone has like expectations from this team. They finished strong nung nag-start tayo sa lock-in. We didn't expect them to win against a lot of teams from EU together with NA as well. Pero nga lang ngayon, nawala na, di na ganong ginagamit si Sushi Boys. We have ang sagot with Patipan, with Jit Boys together with Garnets. Maybe yung calibration na yun, putting in Patipan sa roster ng VPL, nagkaroon sila ng maraming changes. But right now nga na nakapag-practice na, mas takad na sila. Sinabi nga din mismo ni Patipan na siya ang mag-step up ngayon pagdating sa kanyang performance. I think this will be something that Talon has to make a statement out of.
I feel like kung yung roster nila ngayon, that's the one that they stick with for the entire run. I feel like they have a chance to become more consistent kasi si Garnet's now becoming the main duelist. He's been really doing well ever since, na-injure si Patifan during lock-in. He wasn't able to play and they had to field Garnets. The performance of Talon was really good, during lock-in. They performed well over expectation. Tapos nung VPL, when they were experimenting with, putting Patifan in, taking Garnets out, and subbing in and out, trying to build that kind of that roster that they really couldn't figure out yet. They were struggling, but now if they feel a lot more confident now that they're putting both Patifan and Garnets in, with Patifan being in kind of the flex position now.
That's right. It's really interesting to see, like, a lot of our duelist players are taking on this more supportive, flexible role, and I think that also shows that growth that they have as a team. Pero super agree sa mga sinabi nyo. Like, I think Talon is one of those teams na kailangan lang mag-ramp up ng momentum here, kind of get the groove, the vibe of each other here, and I think we see this problem again and again sa mga 6-man rosters natin. They keep trying to change it up, and even Global Esports has said na this is that problem that they're going to be tackling here in LCQ. But looking at Talon's last few games in the regular season, it feels na medyo close yung games nila, and all this is also the opportunity for them to step up their individual play, clutch, and carry each other.
Speaking of yung versus RFQ, kakasabi pa lang sa interview, sabi ni Patipan, yung pinakamalaking nila regret is that going up against this team na dapat nanalo na nga sila. And gusto ko lang din i-highlight, i-throwback ko lang kanina sa discussion, yung tungkol nga sa 6-man rotation na yun, para ka nagpi-picture perfect right? You try to come up with a lot of puzzle pieces, tapos hindi mo makuha yung exact picture. But maybe looking at our decent records pagdating sa Talon, this might be the same identity that we can expect, but then just better kasi nga nakapag-practice na sila ng mas maayos. And meron na siguro sila mas solidified ngayon na roster.
Yeah, and even then, yung mga panalo ng not Zeta Division, ng Talon during the VPL was against, Zeta Division, Genji, and then DFM. Some really, really good teams and DFM. And ayun, so they have the potential talaga to take down giants. They just need to be a lot more comfortable, more confident in their setup, in their roster. And I feel like, with Patifan just kind of settling down and evolving into that kind of flex supportive player and letting Garnets be kind of the star of the show in the duelist, I feel like Talon really kind of changed their identity a little bit for the better.
That's right. I think now these two teams definitely have a lot of problems and issues that they're working on at the same time. It's just going to be a matter of who was able to figure it out in the past 2 months and who wasn't. But, putting these two teams next to each other, we have Cruz and Sinfree, and I think now these two guys are the faces, that strong front of the team, and I think it's so important that they're at the top of their game today, being those controllers.
Uy, si Sinfree, alam naman natin, di ba? Lalong-lalo na nung nanggaling pa siya sa kanyang team before, nung nasa Northception siya together with Soldam, doon na siya kagad nagpakilala on who he is. And now bringing that to VPL, a lot of people underestimated him at first, but then the performance of Sinfree all throughout became really impactful pagdating lang on giving highlights to his other players as well. At nakita nga din natin sa interview, diba? It seems like he's really confident right now to make those statements work. So talagang kita natin yung effort niya.
Totoo. And on the other side, si Cruz naman, kung may experience si Sinfree sa Northception, this man, sa Sersha naman, ang dami niyang na-achieve. And even more with Talon. So, him being one of the more senior members of the team talaga to guide, the two rookies nila. Well, they were rookies in lock-in, si Garnets and Jit Boys, but now they're a lot more experienced, and it feels like this time as well, Talon, a lot more confident, the same kind of confidence that you saw from DFM, pero parang i-times 2 mo for Talon because now they've actually figured out what to do.
That's right. I can't even feel di ko ma-imagine that these guys started out as rookies in the beginning of the year because moving on here 6 months later, it looks like they've grown so much, and it's very I guess it's heartbreaking to think na this is gonna be a single elimination match. One of these teams is going home, so I'm gonna have to break us into predictions. So, G10, would you like to start us off?
Okay. So, kung titignan natin just stats-wise from the last time they met, right? The last time they met was actually their last pro match din. Both of these guys. DFM na 0-2 ng Talon. And because malapit na actually yun. But the first game, the first map, it was almost won by DFM, but Talon, they had that comeback buff, which Talon is very, very used to. So I feel like depending on the way that the maps are structured, that the map picks go, it should be Talon talaga.
Okay. Ray.
Okay.
Guys, it's Talon. Ayan, yun din yung ano eh, di ba? In Filipino, yung Talon means yun, talon.
Talon. Yeah, jumping into champions.
Yeah, jumping into LA na kagad sila. Sakto, meron na kagad visa yan si Patifan.
Yun!
Tama. Ayan, so yun na nga, all jokes aside, I'm really confident that Talon will take this 2-0 pa nga eh.
Okay,
like
repeat of the last match. Again, it's gonna be very exciting because a reunion rematch here. It's gonna be revenge for DFM. Pero I'm gonna have to agree with you guys. Talon rin ako because I feel like they were already on their way up sa Pacific League pa lang. And I'd say in comparison to DFM, mas konti yung kailangan nilang i-tweak to find success. So I'm gonna have to say Talon as well. So that's a 3 out of 3 for us dito sa panel. I mean, still hoping for the best for DFM because definitely we do want to see them find success here. You know, prove to everyone that they are definitely worthy of being here. And they are. And it's just a matter of time until they find what works for them.
True. Pero I think like the way that they've found something that works for them, they already have this playstyle that's very proactive, right? Both of these teams very aim-focused. Pero mas heavy sa strats talaga yung Talon so far. What I hope now for DFM is that the addition of their new coach, Ray, will allow them to be a lot more proactive din sa kanila because you can't afford to be reactive against a team like Talon or else they'll just take every single opportunity that you give them, diba?
So, itong dalawang teams ito may switch, no?
Yeah.
Like, either gonna be on or off, but then sana hindi panel curse.
Yeah, sana!
Uso yan dito dun sa VP alert. Every time it's like a 3, ano?
Alam mo
one
yung
team
mas
lang.
uso?
Ano yun?
Ray G Tankers.
Yeah.
Wait, but pag may negative, positive, diba?
True.
So it cancels each other out. But again, there's so much at stake dito and sa match na to, it's gonna be a heartbreaker for sure. This is either the start of a very long run or the end of a run already. Pero before they start running, we're gonna be throwing it to a short break. Pero wag kayong alis because we are gonna be back to kick off our first match of VALORANT LCQ Pacific with DetonatioN FocusMe versus Talon Esports. VCT Last Chance Qualifiers Filipino broadcast. At ngayon, it's time to start our first match of LCQ Detonation FocusMe versus Talon Esports. At ayan, here's Talon Esports right now. Nagpagupit si Di ba may parang bet sila?
Okay,
May bald buff sila ngayon. At
Oh
least.
yes, Garnet. And they have the ball buff on the most important person na kailangan nilang mag-frag out, the duelist himself.
Exactly. Parang yung Kangkang buff, hopefully na-transfer dito.
Pare-pares pa sila ng sapatos, di ba?
you always have to look at yung entire drip ng Talon kasi sila yung one of the teams na sobrang ganda talaga ng layout nila ng jersey and everything. But now, wow, Detonation FocusMe.
Very, very serious. We have that V formation here, but it looks like, I guess, this is such a heavy game for them today kasi, again, single elimination yung match natin between these two teams at napaka-crucial yung first game na ito kasi it's gonna set the mood. It's gonna set the momentum and I think, you know, for this first game, you want to get that first win.
Medyo seryoso nga talaga yung dalawang teams na to. You're seeing yung fire already that it's now or never and that's the same equation nga ba na gagawin nila ngayon? Will their games be like a never already or will it be like the now talaga as they want to win nga itong LCQ slot?
Oo nga, ngayon na ba ang oras para sa kanila is now the time for either Talon or DFM. Pero feel ko talaga DFM may bago silang ipapakita sa atin, especially with the addition of their new tactical coach. I feel like they really have to ace this map select talaga if they want to have a chance against Talon.
That's right. And I think na yung major difference between this and their first match against each other nung regular season is now, instead of Soldam, yung replacement nila is gonna be Suggest. So I think that's gonna be a totally new flavor added dito sa side ng DFM. Yung tanong is Talon ready for that? Because I think na they were really expecting DFM to bank on that Soldam.
And imagine nga, ang tagal nitong walang tournaments na sinalian. Ang last vote na napapanood nyo is magagaling pa saan? Sa VPL.
Yes.
So biggest question mark talaga ito. Are they going to pull out a chamber? Especially Fracture and Ascent are maps na may pwede ka maglaro ng chamber just you can control those angles. Especially here sa Fracture. So yun yung mga kailangan nating abangan ngayon as maybe ito nga may surprise yung dalawang teams ito sa isa't isa.
Yeah, but I feel like in the bans dito sa maps, there has to be heavy focus on those maps na sobrang galing talaga ng Talon Esports. Those maps being, Bind and maybe Lotus. They have 100% win rate on Bind, 100% win rate on Lotus. Pero the one that they're most confident on is Haven, actually. Kasi yun yung mapa kung saan yung Talon talaga they say they can come back against anybody. Kahit anong team man yan, kahit DRX man yan, kaya nilang maka-comeback on Ascent. So I feel like if that may be one of the bans here, on Haven pala, and that will be one of the bans here by DFM. Great ban.
I guess it was a respect ban as well as the split. I think a very, very good ban coming from the side of Talon because this is one of DFM's best maps. But looking at our first map, it's gonna be Fracture from DFM with Talon on attacking.
No way!
Hey, no
Pero kasi mga Japanese team and Korean teams, they love Fracture, di ba? Pero nga lang, yung win rate nga dito, mas lamang talaga, leaning towards Talon. But then, ito na nga, yung mga ban natin, Bind, okay, hindi natin makukuha to. Pero ano kaya magiging next?
Pearl!
Interesting.
Okay, so yung picks natin so far is gonna be Fracture, Ascent, and Pearl. And gusto ko lang sabihin na no bias here, pero this definitely looks like a Talon-sided map dito.
Yeah, 100%. Just looking at it, kita natin, Fracture, yeah, they have a 60% win rate there versus yung DFM who, 33% on Fracture. What are you doing? And then, it's just Ascent is one of those maps na sobrang gamay na talaga ng Talon Esports. If DFM does not have like a good handle on this, it could be a quick 2-0.
Ito na yung kailangan natin abangan. Like this, sabi mo nga, it's heavily favored upon the side of Talon. But then, ano nga bang surprise factor ng DFM? And looks like may mga konting little bit of that surprise factor tayo ngayon. But then, I am more excited sa magiging composition din ngayon at the same time. Pagdating sa DFM, paano ba nila ma-mix up yung mga kanilang gagamitin? But on the other side, it's still the same din naman halos for Talon.
I think I really like yung intention ng Talon Esports here, or I think it's it's DFM actually. They have some inspiration from the teams we've seen at Ascension. So very, very exciting. But oras na para i-kick off ang VCT Last Chance Qualifiers. It's DetonatioN FocusMe versus Talon fighting for one last chance to prove themselves in the waves of the Pacific. Kaya ipasa na natin sa ating mga casters for today. Asterai and Sayora, take it away.
Thank you, Revy, and the rest. And nandito na nga kami ang casters nyo. Ako ba si Asra? At nga kasama ko po ngayon ay si Seiya. And makikita natin ang unang series ng ating APAC LCQ. Again, DetonatioN FocusMe versus Talon. And hindi na ako makapaghintay na masimulan natin to.
Oo, nakita ko kanina. Nag-notes ka na. Ready ka na sa action natin yan. But of course, as our panelist says earlier, they already had their own pointers. Both of these teams, again, this is their last chance, literally, to get, closer into that spot. Asterai, well, since first time ko here, diba? So, give me a bit of an expectation back.
More than anything else, syempre ngayon na nga yun, yung last chance para makapasok dito yung mga teams natin into Champions 2023. Ang pinakamalaking bagay din dito is yung, I think, internal strife. Specifically, dun sa mga specific teams natin dito, diba? Kasi we have DetonatioN FocusMe na nagkakaroon ng problema, specifically sa kanilang mga duelists. You have, yung question na sinasabi ng panel natin kanina, sino ba ang gagamitin na dito? Is it going to be Solam? Is it going to be Suggest? Nasagot na yan kanina noon nakita natin yung player walkouts plus yung lineup ng teams. It's going to be Suggest, which does state na mas may confidence ang DetonatioN in their last series kay Suggest. Maybe then, during that 1 month na nagkaroon ng break dito from the playoffs, kasi nangyari ngayong Ascension and everything, na mas okay sila sa ginagawa ni Suggest. So that being said, malilid ba ni Suggest itong DFM to victory? Kasi importante na at least ang duelist ng DFM ay may outmatch ang duelist ng Talon dito.
That is true. But then again, of course, they also have to consider as well how the initiators really provide that space so that their respective duelists can really go for that said entry. And it's also important kasi nakita naman natin from the previous matches that they have, nagtapat na tong dalawang to eh. So the thing is that both of them really have some, troubles in terms of actually closing their fights. Kaya nagkaroon ng pagkakataon tong si Talon na makabawi against DetonatioN from their previous match before. So I think it's looking at the lineups that they do have right now, it's really on the way onto really giving that amount of space so that for the likes of Garnet or for the likes of Sinfree to really provide entry for the team. And I do like it, however, at least for the side of Talon here, the way that they did their setups, I think it really complements the map that we have right now, which is Fracture.
That being said naman, is going to be a lot of forces na papakita ngayon agad ang Talon dito sa arcade. Quick little push agad dito. Garnet's gonna be on the Neon. Sugod agad, hanap ng pick. Pero mukhang wala siyang makikita. Nakatago ng onti si Sinfree na nag-raise pero mag-isa siya. Masyadong malakas ang puwersa dito ng Talon.
Going in ahead strong dito sa B from arcade. Patifan already going in towards the smoke just so that they can provide more. But this is going to be the fate. Trying to take a peek, but then double peeks by both of the teams from tower and the site. Really seeing all these numbers dwindle through it with a 2v3 na dito para sa ating side na lamang ang Talon at the moment. They're already going for the post plan. Tries to fake yung defuse natin pero low HP na si Reyta dito. May konting pa-jiggle peek dito as well si Foxes. And that's gonna be the flash pero makakuha siya ni Reyta dito in the process. So they're just really playing for some time. Crow's doing a good job and to clean it up, Jit Boys gets the first round for Talon.
Hirap na hirap sila. Wala na silang magamit na kahit anong utility eh. Kasi tingnan mo, yung post plan ng Talon nasa B-long na or nasa B-main na. Nandun na sila nakabang spike planted in the most perfect spot para lang makapag-jiggle in and out sila. Ang kitang-kita mo yung confusion agad ng DFM. Hindi sasabi natin dito na 1 month might not be enough. Siyempre, pistol pa lang ito. Pero, interestingly enough, weirdly enough din, na nakita natin na mag-isa si Sinfree sa site. Tinaray niya na maging hero but it was not meant to be. And that being said din pala, Seiya, nagkamali ako. Si Suggest pala ang pinili nila na mag-breach ngayon. Sinfree has shown na nakakapag-duelist din siya. Maybe it's because mas comfortable sila na Suggest gonna be on the Jet na lang. I thought that was going to be the case because last time na nasa Fracture sila, their one good Fracture map is Suggest was on the Jet. 22 kills done. Pero this time, it's going to be Sinfree. Is this going to be a good adjustment para sa TFM? Is it going to be not? Pero teka lang muna, ang lakas agad ang push agad ni Garnets dito. Ay nakakuha Nakakuha na agad siya ng 3K. Very nearing yung kanyang overdrive and leaving Reita na makapag 1v5 dito sa ating
second
Thrifty.
round. Yeah. I mean, this is really also the advantage na kapag ikaw ang nananalo sa pistol, you really get all of those economy. You get the better weaponry for the second round. And really, I think Reita doesn't really have much of a choice here kasi the crossfires are already positioned for the side ng Talon. At ang magandang nakita ko din dito sa Talon, especially in this round, is that they are consistent in terms of using their strat. Imagine already, entering from arcade, which normally in situations you go for B main or you try to at least create an amount of noise first. But the fact that Garnet was able to create a lot of space with the wall from arcade with the help of Patiphan smokes, it's already enough to really solidify their take in towards B side.
That being said, din ang hirap ng counter util dito ng na pwedeng gamitin ng DFM. They really have nothing na meron silang mafa-fall back on. I mean, dapat meron They have the stun, they have the fault line farm suggest, meron silang Anthem with the seeds, pero hindi nila matsyempoan dito ang very quick trigger pull ng Talon, especially na si Garnet. Sobrang intense ng kanyang plays ngayon. That being said, Garnet's nga naman, agad nakatingin agad dito sa Sands. Backing away dito si Anthem, and already kita mo agad ang DFM, nag-call na sila ng rotation.
Definitely. I think this is just, again, part of a diversion play to say the least for Talon, but the fact that they were able to take B side really smoothly in the first 2 rounds, and now they're just playing the mind games or the audio cues for the side of DFM just so that they can really throw off the numbers na kung sino yung nagbabantay sa isang specific side. So notice how they're just taking their time at the moment simply because they want to see on or how they could really secure the respective sides. And I think Reita here just really providing that information in towards B. So this is more of them just playing time at this point. And kasi in terms of skills, I do understand that DFM is it's quite shaken a little bit because the fact that you mentioned Garnet S is already really aggressive right now, and look at that, already to concuss in towards ropes and in towards Link, and the perfect smooth take as well for the side. Rose, however, will be getting that spray in smoke, and again the spike has been planted smooth here.
Timing ng DFM, ramdam mo they've really read yung rotation ngayon ng DFM. Kita mo lahat ng initial peaks, lahat ng angles to just spray to the smokes. Huling-huli agad ng Talon Esports dito. And just goes to show again kung gaano ka laser point ang Talon. They had a couple of issues that they were facing, pero they were still one of the more dominant teams na nakita natin dito, especially coming ngayon sa ating APAC LCQ. So now with DFM very much struggling sa pag-push, not really realizing na they might need to just...
they're gonna save.
Yeah, they're gonna save.
Yeah, they're gonna
That's
save.
the obvious factor. They've already lost in free. Wala na silang need. If they try to, wala na silang pera for that next round. So here comes the big question na para sa DFM. Are they gonna call the early timeout? Kasi naghihirap na sila. The approach that they've been doing, parehas na parehas. Sa past couple of 3 rounds, they need something to change the tempo. And kahit man nag-save sila, if the tempo continues like this, mahihirapan pa rin ang DFM as the game continues.
Totoo yan. And of course, they also have to consider their economy here, considering that they only have like half shields and only 3 of them with rifles respectively. They really have to get their shots. Our panelist earlier mentions how Anthem is really going on the rolls, but at the moment, I think it's not really flourishing right now due to the fact na hindi talaga sila nabibigyan ng space, or the fact na sobrang bilis kasing kunin ng Talon yung site na hindi na nakakapag-react kaagad itong DFM. And because of this, they really need to stop that from happening kasi this could be a domino effect. Kumbaga parang mahihirapan na sila to really get back up, and if they do get back up, it's gonna be quite a tad too late.
With all that being said nga naman, ano yung magiging adjustment nila dito? Okay, I do like this adjustment for DFM actually. Kita mo na nag-stack na sila on sa A-main. Yung jump out is in free. Did give them a lot of information na gusto mag-push ng Talon through the drop way. But the big problem pa rin dito is even if they get control on the A-main, parang wala pa rin sila magagawa. Takej able to get a catch on to Foxy. That's going to be huge. Sinfree kung mapatay na dito si Garnets. Napakalaki sana nun, pero hindi. 3 versus 3. Garnets, Patiphan, may SS sila. Orbital Strike is available. So kung si Patiphan hindi ma-clear out dito sa drop, walang magagawa ang DFM. Talon, hindi pa nila syempre na natatalo si Cruz, who still has so much left down in the tank aftershock para mag-delay lang, and no time left dito para sa DFM. Si Reita na lang matitira. Reita has been a good player ever since 1 versus 2. Alam niyo na kung nasan siya nakastack. Ay, may molly pa si
May
Patifan.
molly.
Yun lang.
It's gonna really delay all the more. Pero hindi matatamaan yung spike. But this is the perks of having a 2v1 situation. All they have to do is just really jiggle peek. Hihintayin lang talaga yung audio cue for the spike to be diffused. And Reita was able to get Patifan though from drop and slowly securing here. No, actually, Reita wins it but does not have enough time to really diffuse that spike. So that was a close call. But then again, for Talon, I am really interested with the way they take the certain sites here for Fracture. Simply because, una dun sa B-side, they came from the back, from the arcade, and now they're also doing a similar thing into getting from dropway. So these are types of strategies that normally you would use maybe in the mid phases of the game. But right now, they're just really going in all out for the first few rounds ng match natin.
It just feels na, Talon, they're just letting DFM cook. Yun na lang yun talaga. It's more of making sure na they understand which setup DFM is trying to utilize dito. Then they're trying to understand if yung KJ ng DFM there, yun ang isasabi ko, that was what they needed kanina pa sana. This was, I don't know.
The previous round.
The previous round pa sana. But yeah, anyways, going back to what I said, it feels like they're just trying to match na lang. Hinahanap nila kung saan nakatago yung Sentinel player dito ng DFM na si Reita. Kung wala si Reita doon, kung nasa B siya, much easier dito. No real threat para kay Garnets. And Garnets is the biggest part dito kung paano nakakapag-push ang Talon. Once he gets into the site, once he starts, sprinting in, nakakuha siya ng all of that contact, all of that information, mas nagiging stable, mas nagiging clear kung ano yung gustong gawin ng Talon sa site na yun that they are taking.
That is true. And with that being said, it also means that, DFM is placed in a position where they have to react immediately with really no time to spare on how they would take the side or how they would take those 1v1s into their favor. Kasi nangyari, okay, sure, there is a rally going on between the two, pero ang Talon here is always left with, the advantage in terms of numbers. And it only leaves either for DFM to go for a save or to just really go all out, but that's not really going to be healthy in terms of their economy and their score. So this time around, we do see a bit of an initiation here for the utils coming in from Anthem. Not gonna spot anyone, however, tries to jiggle peek, but was able to back away immediately simply because they don't want to get caught up in all of these, util dumping in towards a site. So the best bet for DFM to do here is try to really read on how Talon would try to take the site so that numbers, again, could go in their favor. Maybe they could play for peaks or, try to make it to a point na mas lamang sila in terms of really getting into it. Pero mukhang hindi mangyayari yun ngayon kasi ito naman ang part 2 na papasok si Garnet as using with the wall and then again all the teams suddenly in towards the site. But that's gonna be a smoke kill coming in from Jitboy S. Really good aiming and anticipation from Link. Pero ma-detain siya dito in the process. That's gonna be 3 people. This could be a chance already. Anthem spots 1 will be taking not another, as they didn't really get to find the other members, but then again Anthem with a second kill of his own. Spike is still planted. Takeje with a real trade on this. Garnet takes a double. Beautiful rotate coming in from one side to another, and here they're just gonna wait for that all-you-can once again for the side of Talon. Oh, spots out. Beautiful crossfire from both. That's gonna be a 3, but a 3 for Anthem as well, but actually closes the fight. And finally, DFM, the timeout kind of worked for them.
It sort of did, pero I will say na rin na that was one of the messier executes na nakita natin dito sa Talon. First, a couple of things lang din naman. DFM, isa mo na nag-utility dump sila sa A side, sa A main. I did like that, pero this was also interesting. Tatlo ang na-detain dito sa Killjoy lockdown. And what's also interesting about that is si Patifan, meron siyang orbital strike. Hindi niya ginamit para sirain yung lockdown.
True.
So, akala ko, inisip ko na nasa plan ba yun ng Talon para makapaglaro sila ng post plan? Pero masyado nilang inisip that they could bully DFM dito, which again, makes sense nga naman kasi one of the maps that they've played before, naka 13-4 sila dito sa DFM, maybe was wanting to bully their opponents. If it was more a lot the sure shot na strat, could have been just a safer bet na lang. Pero yung aggression dito ng Talon just goes to show kung gaano sila ka laser point sa aggression nila nga.
Indeed. Sticking still to their stones by taking A side from drop is actually effective for the side of DL. But this time around, look at how Reita denies it with the swarm grenade. Takes 2 in the process. So ibig sabihin nun, it really helped them into not just delaying the push, but at the same time, after taking that 2K for Reita, they kind of slowed down a little bit. Hindi na-capitalize masyado yung ult ni KO doon or ni Fox. But this is going to be the ulti coming in from Anthem once again, but it's not gonna spot anyone at the moment. So this could be a potential good retake for DFM. But Fox, though, the little peek there, but Reyna still gets the 3, was able to crossfire for the comrades. And there you go, DFM slowly trying to climb it up and trying to tie the scores.
And look at that, going back sa sinabi ko din, yung point na they try nilang iwasan yung KJ, but now Talon not really wasting any time, just looking to push at the site na nga, and it's becoming a lot more palatable dito para sa DFM. Kita mo na DFM much more prepared dun sa push niya kasi Talon doesn't split the push, at least dito sa start ng ating first map. So because of that, mas madali yung encompass or yung pag-try ng counter dito ng DFM. That being said pa din, syempre, Talon can always readjust. That's the strength of Cruz. Napakabilis niya. They don't need the timeout. Agad yung calls nila. They have a lot of strategies. And nakikita mo agad dito, the quick split from Jet Boys. So alam mo na Talon, they were only testing out the waters and they still have more in the tank to employ.
This is actually good because the fact that they were able to just showcase them just pushing all together, it only leaves a lot of variations for them to push different sides at any time. And I think this is going to be one of its good demonstrations here, having Jitboy, just play around here towards A, trying to see of who's gonna go. But right now, this is like a very slow zip line from B to A here. So I think it's just conditioning the waters. Fade will be spotting out, not exactly how much, but it is enough information to tell them that there are people in towards side. And I do like the discipline coming in from DFM right now, that they're just really staying there in hopes of a potential rotate. But I think that's going to be the case of Just Takes Two. Anthem with a double of his own to really clean it up. Now that's a more cleaner game for DFM to just patiently wait for that push.
Yeah, Anthem, again, just cleaning up house. Hindi siya nag-over-aggress. Akala ko nga mahuhuli siya dun eh. Couple of stuns plus yung C's pa. Pero great adjustment para kay Suggest din dito. I was wondering din kung bakit nila pinag-suggest. This is the reason why already, hindi pa tayo halfway done dito sa ating first map. He already has 6 assists, a couple of kills under his belt. And yung fault line plus yung kanyang flashpoint na timings dito have been getting better and better each and every round. Kaya nakakatulong talaga ito para sa DFM na makapag possible comeback. Tignan mo, 4-3 from that 4-0 if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed. And the ego is looking very good for the side of DFM as well, really winning those consecutive rounds. And for the timeout for Talon to be called here this early is, I think, would be beneficial for them because they don't really want to get that, momentum going for the side of DFM. So this would also be an opportunity for Talon to just, maybe let's try a different tactic because they're already starting to adapt dun sa pag-rush push nila and the fact that their entry, kung saan sila papasok, na nakaka-adapt na rin yung DFM. And again, as I mentioned kanina, the discipline this time that DFM already enforced sa sarili nila by not being too reactive to utils and just, staying in their post up until they see, the members of Talon actually being in the side is also one of the good things, that DFM came from dun sa timeout nila.
That's maybe the reason din kung bakit natin nakikita nga dito na maybe nalaro nila si Sinfree on the duelist. Not because he's gonna be the one to lead the charge, siya yung makakuha ng free kills or most kills, but because siya yung, paano sabihin natin to? Siya yung unang alay. Tapos, si Suggest na secondary as the breach, mas madali siya makakuha ng frags. And tingnan mo naman yan. Yan ang sinasabi natin dito. That's the reason why quick little contact, makakapag-back off pa siya. Reyna puts up the KJ turret agad dito. But there is the immediate smoke for at least that B main. 4 players na lang natitira. It is the weaker buy para sa Talon dito, but you cannot count them out just yet. Kung makakuha ng pick si Garnets, that's gonna be huge kasi Cruz can still follow up with the Rolling Thunder, maybe to get into the side. Kita mo naman yung positioning ni Anthem, actually playing very out in the open onto A main. He does have Sinfree, may nade sila, good combo is a possibility here, pero if the timing is gonna be perfect, baka hindi siya makapag-react in time.
And then here it goes, tries to delay the push, but then again, that's not really gonna stop Garnet from going into the side. Pero, masha-shutdown siya ni Sinfree. And because of this, it's going to really force Talon to back away. Pero mukhang hindi naabot kasi Sinfree was also to take another kill of his own. But Jitboy with the Sheriff kill to try and avenge the fallen comrade. But this is a 4v2 situation. Take note, only Sheriffs to work with for Fox and Jitboy. So it's really quite difficult for them right now, especially that, you know, the spike is already at main. May dalawa na nakabantay doon. But at the same time, they're still trying to make the call. 10 seconds already left on the clock. That's Anthem for one, Crossfire for the other. But you know, Anthem's just like, sige, ako na lang babantay. I got you guys. And just like that, it's a tie already. And I think for Talon, the slow pace or the delay pace kind of push is not already working for their favor. Because DFM is just really waiting for them to enter at this point or to create a lot of noise.
I feel such stability din of DFM to, or the adjustment ng DFM to actually adjust dun sa ano rin, sa ano sabihin to, yung timing ng pag-push ng Talon. And because of that, it is allowing them to catch up with their opponents more times than not. The big thing naman dito para sa Talon is they do have a good set of resources then coming into this following round. Yan na agad yung Rolling Thunder. Alam na agad nila, pero Sinfree is ripped at the showstopper. Nag-try na mag-heroic play dito si Jitboys, pero nagkamali siya ng onte. Nandiyan na si Anthem, tumutulong na nga. Garnet comes in from the pinch from Arcade, pero hindi pa rin kakayanin. Patifan, superstar no more. Gets beaten down by Suggest at DFM. Bumabawi bit by bit.
Bumabawi bit by bit. That is right, Asarai. And I just really loved how they were prepared. They were prepared for the ultis, all coming through, and Sindri just with that showstopper as well to counter it out. It was very beautiful. Let's look at the quick replay here. So yan na kami, Rolling Thunder, but the showstopper is there denying, you know, Jitboy from getting any further. And Anthem, with the way that his position, already securing, you know, the plays or the potential play that Talon could have done. And hindi lang yun, with Suggest backing up Anthem as well, it was a perfect crossfire. Pero hindi pa natatapos dito, mukhang Kaki J already gets one, and Sinfree with a crossfire in return. Merong shutdown naman dito from Patifan, but that's gonna be the orbital strike getting Sinfree. But this is also intel from DFM. This is a 3v3 situation now.
It's turning into a story na the longer this game goes, the smoother, the more consistent, or the more convincing na nagpapakita ngayon ang DFM. Pero hindi, teka lang muna. Jitboys somehow picks it back up. Huge plays coming in para sa ating Sentinel ngayon, leaving Reita by himself. Rotation from Reita already at spawn. Pero can't really push up onto the side just yet kasi ang problema dito is he doesn't really know if nag-back away sila into the other side. He has left all of his utility basically on the A. So it's all about the gunplay para sa kanya. The problem is if Cruz even decides to flash out dito sa B main, mahuhuli si Reita. But Reita's missing the point. He's missing the read. Akala niya nag-push sila sa arcade pero nandito na, or nag-push sila papunta sa drop pero nandito sila sa arcade into the side and he's not gonna hear it if he just waited. He overread the situation and ngayon nagkamali siya. He's gonna hear nothing and he's gonna say, ay, nagkamali ako dito. Ang pangit na read ko. And this is gonna be a long rotation na kita mo, 2 versus 1, mas maganda ang post-plant positioning ng Talon.
Definitely. They do also have, you know, the refrag capabilities para dito sa Talon. Like if one already dies, that's gonna be easier for them to go for the take. Pero Turret already giving them a signal to where Reita could be. And right now, Reita's just trying and hoping for the best that there's no crossfire here, but that's not gonna be the case as Cruz already secures this for their 5th round. Malapit-lapit ang labanan natin dito, Asarai, because it's still anyone's game. But at this point, I do see some amount of, you know, still stability for DFM, but I don't wanna say it too early because Talon does have the capability to take us by surprise.
Definitely so. Bigla din ako sa ability ni Jitboys to get that 2K from out of nowhere. I think we'll probably see it in the replay if ever man. Pero stick that far back. Still continue dito ngayon sa round na ito. Talon does have yung kanilang lockdown. Haven't actually used it at all sa Jitboys. Hindi ko lang kung sinisave nila or there's no real opportunity to actually utilize it. Garnet's pushing up. Has to back away because of the fault line. Pero ito na yung push out nila. Sinfree. It's gonna be the plan. The flash through, pero matatalo agad siya ni Patifan very quick. And this is the problem for Sinfree. Kahit man he's on a position where he can actually make the plays, hindi siya pwede mag-feed the kills. Pero tingnan mo naman si Anton, the follow-through, the follow-up. Sobrang tindi. Nandiyan na rin si Suggest. Foxy na lang matitira. 2 versus 1. Talon have put themselves again in clutch situation. So kakayan or mahahanap ba niya na nasa likod niya na dalawa nakatingin sa'yo dito? And Foxy with a double spray. The transfer is good and the 4K is even better.
4K is even better indeed. And imagine that could have been a situation where in DFM, just really waited, for that spike to be planted. And numbers, initially it was on them. Anthem was doing a really good job in holding off the wardstrop. So let's get a quick replay right here. So you see the Patifan gets one, but there is a trade-off coming in from Anthem. That was a 3K of his own and suggests for the backup. But the problem is, I think there was a bit of impatience there. Now, okay, let's just push in towards and go for the potential crossfire without knowing that Fox had the capability to just go for the call-out. And that was a beautiful spray for him as well to take the round.
Just boys, going to underground.
Uy,
Yan na nga.
Yung ult nagamit na.
Okay, so this one's gonna envelop yung buong B site natin. If they cook this enough, inintay muna nila up until the very last second, mahihirapan mag-escape dito mga players nila. Maybe even get a detained catch. Yan na nga, nakahanap na sila isa, and Wraith has been spotted by Cruz from underground. Huge 3-man flank para sa DFM. There still is the fault line. Onting intay lang. Concuss is a possibility. Foxy, binato niya na ang kanyang flash and ipit na ipit ang players dito ng DFM. One will be the operator onto Anthem. Pero syempre, one shot, one kill. Kung nagkamali siya, this is going to be all bad para sa kanya. Tries to go for the pistol, not gonna happen. And on the other side of the map, Takej, huling-huling ni Garnets, and Talon ends the first half very convincingly.
Very convincingly indeed. And looking at how Talon is right now, I think this is more of them knowing that, okay, maybe DFM is trying to be a bit more aggressive, even if they are in the defensive play. Because notice how most of the util is there the moment that they just hear some noise. But here, towards that fight from earlier, it was actually a good job, considering with Anthem only has an op and, limited steps to be with. I think it was just great.
It was great, and we'll be passing it on to the round for even greater discussion dito sa ating first half.
Maraming salamat, Azurai and Sayora. And again, 5-7 lang ating scoreline here in favor of Talon Esports. They started out very strong. DFM came back, pero bumalik yung momentum kay Talon. And I just want to say, we were talking off-cam kanina, Ray, and I think na they were overwhelmed by this fade. And I think that this is what we saw from Scars during Ascension, yung fade raise lineup.
Speaking of, yun nga yung meron. Tas ito nga si Suggest, ang ganda na ng mga concuss na, pero we gotta give it to Anthem. Even if hindi talaga ganun kaganda yung role ni Sinfree on that raise, yung nag-save talaga sa side ng DFM ay yung dalawa nilang initiators all along.
Yeah, pero on the side of Talon naman, you gotta give it as well to Garnets for carrying that early momentum and Foxy for saving that second to the last round, not letting it get to to that 5-6 score line kasi it was basically a 4v1, diba? And then he was able to clutch it out. What an insane play. But yeah, I mean, ang ganda din ng pinakita ng DFM at the moment.
That's right. Pero what do you guys think is gonna happen to the second half once they switch sides?
I think most likely, mas maganda na yung magiging side ngayon pagdating sa Talon. Yung mga shotdown on that knife is gonna give them a lot of spaces. And mas maganda nga yung performance nila whenever they're on defending on the second half.
Yeah, bigger, more space being taken up by Talon means that I think DFM, they will start to crumble a little bit when they struggle with that post plant if they haven't really, fleshed that out. Kasi yun yung one of the weaknesses na nakita natin sa VPL is that post plant na attacking ng DFM. So it remains to be seen whether or not that weakness has been patched up.
That's right. Well, that's it from us on the panel. So, Azurai and Sayora, back to you.
Salamat sa ating panel. Kailangan namin yun. Yung onting pahinga muna na yun. Kasi ang isa sa mga bagay na I think nagiging problema ngayon ng siguro siguro ang pinakamalaking problema ng Talon kasi Talon nang inisip naman nanalo sa series ito. Na bubulabog sila. Feel ko may points na kita mo pa rin yung problema nila from the first part pero hindi natin nakikita yan sa start ng pistol natin dito as they push aggressive outside of arcade. Yung stun na follow through agad ni Patifan at ni Garnets and yung heaviest hitters ng Talon ang nagpakita ng kanilang puwersa dito ngayon sa DFM. And DetonatioN FocusMe, kaya ba nilang i-focus up si Takej as tatlo ang nakatingin sa kanya? Ang tamang-tama nga, walang nakapalag sa DFM.
Siguro nakita din ng Talon dito na pumasok tayo dito sa arcade. So baka gagawin din ng similar stat ng DFM dito. And hindi nga sila nagkamali sa prediction nila na baka pumasok sila dito coming in from B. Which is, naging tama yung call nila. And maganda rin yung pagkaka-crossfire ng dalawa. Dahil they were basically able to secure yung area na yun. Hindi nga nagkaroon ng pagkakataon ang DFM makapasok sa site dahil sa magandang play na nangyari for the side of Talon. Pero gaya nga na sinabi ng panel and ikaw kanina, nakikita natin yung mga mistake. But right now, isa yun. Kasi nakita natin, the concuss was there and Anthem was ready for the kill. And hindi na nakapag-react agad si Patifan dito. And to which patuloy-tuloy na ang pagre-refrag and retake ng Talon as well as both Foxy and si Jitboy nakakuha ng double in the process. So ngayon, it only goes up to Reyta. Pero as much, wala lang nga mangyayari doon because not just for the weapon, but as well, only a sheriff to work with. And alam na din nila kung nasan naroroon si Reyta.
Reyta, hindi niya na, tinaray na maging tricky ngayon sa Talon kasi he still has to play out in the open dun sa other side ng fracture map and can't really do anything other than just try to challenge for the shot. Mo naman, Talon, so ingrained, so connected with each other. Tapos nga sa viewing party nila, kita mo hype na hype ngayon. Yung crowd enjoying that there's a possibility na, again, Talon's journey all the way from the bottom ng ating APAC LCQ is looking very, very convincing. Pero teka lang muna, Takej already on the fight and nakapag-mamba out agad dito si Garnet pero habol kay Reyta. Alone and by himself, wala siyang magagawa sa 1v1 na yun.
May pambawi si Garnet despite na nakapag-back away siya dun. Although may delay push na naganap because of the util. Pero hindi pa rin sapat dahil wala na rin masyado magagawa si Patifan dun sa ating zipline and note na dalawa ang nakaantabay sa kanya doon in the process. So they are gonna try and take the A site, but there is gonna be the concuss. Nako, masya-shutdown ni Suggestong si Cruz and to patuloy-tuloy na to. They're gonna plant in the spike at kailangan lang talaga gawin ngayon ng DFM is to just wait for this retake na pwede mangyari. Pero this is gonna be a bit difficult para sa side ng Talon considering that this is a 2v4 situation now. And napakaraming util na pwedeng gamitin ng DFM ngayon dito. They don't really necessarily have to peek, but at the same time, this is going to be a trial for Talon. Tingnan natin kung magagawa nilang clutch. Dahil nagawa naman ni Foxy kanina at saka ni Garnet So baka naman pwede masubukan ngayon sa round na to. Pero sa nakikita ko mukhang medyo malabo.
Oh wow, okay. Medyo nag-freak out si Suggest dito. Still, they can't really matry na ma-diffuse yung spike kasi they're holding A main. Garnets, is he gonna just try para makapag-exit frag?
Hindi sapat.
Okay.
Oo.
Do they have money for the next round? Yeah, they do.
Meron
so, okay
pa naman.
Yeah, okay.
Meron pa naman. Pero ngayon, 6-9 ang ating scoreline. Talon still, in favor of this matchup. But then again, DFM, ito nga, I think yung tinatry na pinoint out kanina ng panels natin. But in terms of defending side ng Talon, dito na sila nagtathrive. Dito na sila nag-excel at nakikita natin yun. May mga nakikita tayong mga lapses here and there sa simula. Pero the fact that kaya nilang bumangon from that, it is one of the most commendable things that Talon has to do. Kumbaga parang polishing na lang talaga
Ito na, ang ating Neon Special outside ng B main. Quick little push.
Sila maging aggressive,
And this is actually good para sa Talon din kasi alam nila agad kung nasaan naka-situate ang DFM. Kung hindi and narinig na rin nila nakapag-rotate ang DFM dito. So unless DFM went for the very risky move na mag-zipline papunta kung nasan si Reyta, hindi mahihirapan na maintindihan ng Talon kung saan sila nakapag-push. Tingnan mo kung gano'n kahaba or gano'n ka-forward ang pag-push ngayon ni Garnets. There's the aftershock already para kay Cruz. Jet Boys on top ng A side. Kailangan niya na makapag-reposition pero actually that nade might force him back out in the open. Mahuli siya dito and that's perfectly done para sa DFM. Hindi makakapagpalag si Cruz. And I thought na magkakaproblema dito ang DFM pero it was on the flip side. Sila ang umaarangkada. Garnets pahabulin, napakadaming angles. Patifan na lang 1 versus 5.
Nahihirapan ang Talon kanina doon sa setup na ginawa ng DFM. Actually, agree nga sa'yo. Akala ko may hirapan yung DFM dito with all the lineups at lahat ng mga util na nakaposition, especially dun sa may A main. Mahirap i-entry yun But then again, they were able to find a way. And ngayon, I do think that a save could happen dito for Patifan. But mukhang si Faye nahuli. Nahuli. Tama, ni Patifan dito. And it's just more of the pickoffs at this point. Kasi it's already naka-place and ready to go na yung spike. And wala masyadong magagawa dito si Patifan at this point. But right now, it's really a close fight. Pero I think for the side of DFM, they just have to really try to adjust themselves in a way that they have to accommodate para sa kanilang mga team. But let's look at a quick replay right now. Kasi nakita natin dito, the Kedge and Anthem are really doing a good job supporting each other. And dito nga yung akala ko na hindi sila makakapasok. Pero nabaliktad nila yung sitwasyon.
Which is good din para sa kanila. Kasi the big thing din dun is, again, I honestly also thought na nagkamali din ng pag-throw yung si DFM ng util niya. Maybe it was, or maybe it was intentional. And because of that, ang ganda ng follow-through niya pinakita sa atin ng DFM. Nararamdaman na Talon yung pressure, so they're gonna take that short little break with that timeout dito Seiya. And what's good about this is you can really see yung advantages or yung success na nakikita natin sa DFM specifically doon sa roster setup na pinakita nila. Sinfree might not be the best sa pag-entry frag, pero hindi nila kailangan ng entry frag dito. Kailangan nila to weather that initial storm na that is Talon, yung pag-push out nila, yung early round shenanigans nila, and paano yung pag-adjust nila, yung follow-through nila. And it seems like this adjustment from DFM ay tumpak na tumpak sa matchup na ito.
Ang kailangan lang din talaga nila gawin dito yung sa adjustment na to is to be consistent in a way na talagang lalamang sila all throughout for the matchup. But at the same time, nakikita natin kasi dito yung part na parang nape-pressure or na nakita din natin yung at a certain point na minsan nahihirapan din silang basahin kung ano nga ba ang plano ng Talon. And Talon here can capitalize doon sa fact na yun. But right now, we're seeing utilities being thrown in different parts of the areas. Maagang smoke ang nangyari doon sa bandang B main. But then again, mukhang slow push ang gaganapin ng DFM dito ngayon kasi I think they're playing for peaks. Parang gusto nila yung numbers, mas lamang sila doon. And mukhang kailangan din nilang i-check ang corner dito. Sino ang unang makuha? That's gonna be one for Garnet. But may trade naman for Takejiro.
Okay, so that's a good first step dito for the weak buy ng Talon. Only Foxy at Patifan ang may pistol or ang may rifles na hawak. They've actually played on both sides ng map. So yung firepower na meron ngayon ang Talon very much divided, pero because DFM aren't really over-pushing this time, hindi pa sila nagko-pull ng trigger, they're trying to burn out as much utility as possible, it might actually work sa favor ngayon ng Talon dito. Foxy is already backed away, he's called up the rotation. I don't think may natamaan dun sa KO blade ni Foxy, pero they're also having the inkling na, again, they still have the utilities of Jitboy, leave them on A, it's going to be B, yan na nga, tama ang hula nila, pero because of these smokes, hindi sila makakuha ng quick line of sight para makakuha ng shot. It's all gonna fall down sa utility ni Foxy at si Patifan, pero
orbital strike.
Hindi tatama.
Hindi tatama at nakapag-plant din sila in the process. So this is a good opportunity ngayon para kay DFM for the potential post-plant. Pero we did see that there is a messy situation. But Suggest takes one at hindi iba dahil magkakaroon ng trade for respective teams. Reita will have a kill of his own. May konting whiff. Foxy will take it. Pero yung timing, pero si Foxy pa rin ang nakakuha with the classic and going in for the defuse.
Nagkamali si Takej. Either nag-fat finger siya o gusto niya mag-set ng smoke. Nako po. Hindi niya in-expect na mag-push si Foxy sa kanya. I mean, it makes sense, diba? Kasi kung napunan ng follow kill na yan si Foxy, napunta na sa 1v1, pupunta dapat siya sa site. So tama naman yung nasa utak ni Takej dito. Pero si Foxy, ginawa niya yun all at the same time. Grabe ang utak ng lalaking ito. Tingnan mo.
Yun ang
nilabas niya ang kanyang iPad. Nagkamali siya.
Nagkamali siya. I think talagang smoke play na ang pinaka bet ni Takej doon kanina from arcade. Para nga naman ma-narrow down yung picking options niya, diba? Pero at the same time, Foxy was just really fast on his feet and mukhang panibagong strategiya na naman ang gagawin ng DFM dito ngayon. And that is gonna be a potential 8 take. Pero looking at how our teams are positioned right now. Mukhang it's gonna be a split. Kumbaga nag-ingay lang sila dun sa A main natin at nakaantabay sila ngayon sa B main, waiting for the right amount of utility na pwedeng ibato para makapasok. Kasi hindi sila katulad ni Garnet na may wall para makapasok agad eh. They do have Sinfree, however, with the raise in the satchel. Pero look at this from the smoke. May mga spray. Pero mauuha si Sinfree ng swarm grenade ni Jit Boys. And ngayon, this is another opportunity for DFM to enter. Pero may aftershock na mangyayari. That is gonna be a post plant. Pero once again, medyo messy ang posisyon as Jit Boy takes the headshot dito against Anthem. Papasok ngayon sa smoke si Reyta. Ihintayin lang nila kung lalabas nga ba siya o hindi. Pero this is a complete 5-man stacked. Reyta has to isolate the fight. Pero gaya nga sabi mo, mawala na yung smoke. Nagsispray lang sila dito at this point. Oh, at nakuha pa ni Crows sa huling sandali.
Yeah, I mean, kasama mo na 5-man yung natitira pa dito sa Talon. So, na-clear na yung isang angle, they already know he's just holding on dun sa smoke. Ang maganda ditong ginawa ni Talon, kung makikita natin yung replay real quick, is... ano ba to? Yes. They force the shots through the smoke, and I know it's not 100% thing na makakatama yung pop shot nila with the rifles, pero it gave enough distractions to DFM. Kita mo kung gaano ka hesitant yung DFM mag-push, and the time na nag-push out sila, na-tiyempohan na rin ng Talon to activate yung mga utilities, whether it's yung fragment molly ni Foxy dito or yung nano swarm na meron si KJ. So those bits of calls na ginagawa ng Talon really show kung gaano sila katakot kalabanin in these microaggressive situations. Yun.
Totoo yun. And kung papansinin din, may pagkakaiba din sa pagka-attacker side ng DFM in comparison with Talon. Talon, nung nag-attacking phase sila, they did rush push all together. Hindi sila nag-split at nagkaroon ng variation din nung pagdating ng gitna ng laban nila. Ngayon for DFM, masyado sila nagsistick into a split delayed push in a manner wherein masyado na ding nababasa ng Talon. Kaya sanay na din sila kung paano nila to i-counter. Pero may mga moments din naman si DFM na gumagana o effective yung ginagawa nilang strategy ngayon. But at the same time though, they really need to make something out of this specific round if they do want to not just be healthy in terms of their economy, pero at the same time then, parang naman din matapos ang labanan ng maganda. Pero ngayon, mo si Guard makakuha ng tukol bago siya matrade off ni Take, and he suggests with the kill of his own, it's a 3v3. Mukhang konting reset in terms of numbers, but that is gonna be the ult coming in. Jit Boyes from behind. Nakuha si Suggest at si Fox din. Mukhang na-sandwich dito in the process, but this is gonna be ending really quickly this time. At Talon successfully defended this round.
Yan ang masakit para sa Talon ngayon. It's 7-12 at ang naging malaking problema para sa kanila, sa DFM is, I think nung nag-clutch si Foxy, biglang nawala yung momentum, yung hype na naramdaman ng DFM para sa team nila dito. The biggest thing doon is, kita mo hindi na nila alam yung gagawin nila after that. Talon, kahit anong strat ang i-pull off nila, it always works. Tapos, how many times have we seen Garnet actually do yung aggressive push out na yun sa arcade? It's always been spotting out DFM dito, and DFM have no answer against that. Palagi na nahuhuli si Zinfree. Here comes the counter strat na gusto sanang gawin ng DFM, pero it's not happening. Garnet rips out yung kanyang overdrive. Nandyan na rin yung Rolling Thunder, and they're all out for the picking ngayon. Seiya out in the open. Upusin ng Talon.
Ang bilis ng pagkakatake ng Talon doon. At ang isa sa cherry on top ng ginawa nila doon was the Rolling Thunder coming in. At nalagay sila sa posisyon kung saan talagang alam na ng Talon kung ano ang gagawin nila with the potential B main take na gagawin sana ng DFM doon. At isa din sa mga nakapag-shutdown doon sa pinaka-strategy nila was Garnet with the ult. Dahil na-shutdown si Anthem. Si Anthem na isa talaga sa nagiging make or break play na sana na gagawin ng DFM, na-shutdown ng maaga. So, ibig sabihin nun, iilan na lang ang pwede nilang gawan ng paraan. Pero, na-deny ka agad yun matapos ng Rolling Thunder strat play and push play galing sa Talon.
So now, quick check dito sa ating highlights na naman. And there was a point, nakita natin, DFM, ramdam na ramdam mo that they have a lot of fight dito sa ating first map. Pero when Foxy got that take, when Foxy got the clutch kay Takej, doon biglang nanahimik ang DFM. Doon nagkaroon ng final win dito ang Talon. Talon also looking very strong pair at the same time. It's still the issue with Talon, shaky. But once Foxy got that, nagkaroon ng, I don't know, naging mas sharp yung kanilang execution. They looked a lot more convincing after those couple of rounds. And Foxy, again, the superhero dito sa ating first map.
Totoo yan. And I think I can say para sa Talon is, this time around, nagkaroon ng moment na may times na may miscoms, pero from the rounds na talagang kinakailangan yung communication style, dun sila naging malinaw. Dun sila nagkaroon ng timing na, sige, ibato mo tong rotate ang derb mo, ibato mo tong skill na to, pupush kami. At nangyari yun doon, especially sa last round natin.
So, wow, napaka-convincing ng first round dito ng Talon. And again, isipin nyo nga guys, it's going to be yung one series lang talaga to decide if you're gonna move on dito sa ating APAC LCQ. Yan ang pinaproblema dito. LCQ, last chance qualifiers, walang double eliminations na. It's all about kung gaano ka, how much you want it, how much you prepared for it, and how better you are dito sa teams. And Talon just looked incredible in that first map dito. There were some great moments na nakita natin from DFM though. Anthem was looking super well rated din. Si Suggest din. Pero kinulang pa rin sila. Anyways guys, pupunta muna tayo sa break at pagkabalik natin, game number 2 na tayo.
What's so funny, soldier? They look funny, sir. This is no joke, soldier. This is what we need to do if we want to win LCQ. Do we understand? Sir, yes, sir. We need to be the best of the best.
Loves it.
Heading to the above.
game ends, it's really break our heart.
Zeta Division will not be playing in Tokyo.
We won't give up, we will emerge.
Team Secret,
Global Esports,
Talon Esports,
DFM가
저희 젠지는
for the power of friendship 諦めないで勝ち上がります。もう一度チャンスがある大会なのかなと思います。
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. At kakarating lang natin sa first game of LCQ. It looked pretty even in the first half, pero in the end, Talon closes it out 13-7 on Fracture, which was DFM's map pick, by the way.
Nakakagulat yung structure, lalong-lalo na yung clutches ni Foxes. I am really impressed with that. Lalong-lalo na nag-iPad lang. Nag-iPad lang.
He was supposed, yung 1v1 that was already in his favor.
I know, Takej, I don't know if it was a fat finger or if it was just, you know, nerves getting to him and it was a mispress or something like that. Pero that would have been, you know, a round na talagang kailangan ng DFM if they wanted to keep that, yung momentum nila. Pero, man, Foxy is simultaneously, you know, the luckiest player in the game and also one of the anchors talaga of Talon.
That's right. And I think na what we could tell from that game was definitely nagbago yung playstyle ng DFM. Mas confident sila compared to before. They have very big intentions kung, you know, kung paano nila gusto maglaro. But when it comes down to execution, if their play gets broken, they aren't able to innovate on the fly just like Talon can. And I think yun yung big difference between these two teams. Talon is able, they have that talent to innovate on their own. Pero DFM, pag nasira yung set play, wala na.
Ay, doon yung meron sa maglaking difference ng dalawang to when it comes to experience. Sino ba yung Talon? They've been here since late 2020 actually. Tapos ngayon nga nakapag-international tournaments na din sila and such. Plus, the composure with Jit Boys together with Garnet, it seems like they're more synced now compared ngayon sa DFM. But then, si Suggest, I'm really impressed with his performance din. Pero syempre dito tayo kay Garnets talaga. On that Neon, we don't usually see this much. Pero at least pagdating sa kay Garnets, maganda yung performance niya ngayon.
Yeah, there were some really key moments talaga where Garnet stood out and shone, especially in the first 4 rounds where he really gave that starting momentum to his team. Pero there were, you know, a couple of mistakes na nakita natin with Garnet, especially when he was trying to, I think it was Anthem yung sinusugod nila in the 2v1 situation. And he missed his ultimate, you know, he wasn't able to point the finger. Pero ayun nga, even though that was a little bit of an oopsie, he still was able to consistently in that second half take a lot of space for his team.
That's right. And speaking of Garnets, kasi, you know, I want to talk about his teammates because Cruz set up so well for his team with his fault lines, his flashes, you know, allowing Garnets and Jit Boys to literally just fly in and take down the members of DFM. And I think na this is how each member of Talon is able to make them all sync up together so well. Kakasabi mo lang din kanina Ray na Jit Boys and Garnet are working well together. And I really want to say that this is thanks to Cruz.
Speaking of Cruz, ang laki ng naging adjustment niya. Dati talaga initiator main siya. Pero nga lang nung nagkaroon ng moments na hindi na nga si Scary yung kasama sa lineup nila, ang nangyari is that he turned into that controller. And now that he exchanged with Patipan, he's back with his better agent talaga. Pag lalong-lalo na yung concusses niya, it's really, really good.
And nakita din natin in that training montage, si Cruz talaga, the taskmaster of Talon, yung coach talaga nila in their, you know, carrying training. Nakita natin, ang galing talaga nila. Shoutouts to Talon, their social media is so insane. Ang ganda talaga ng mga content na linalabas nila. But looking at the maps, nako, Ascent for Talon, this is going to be a very bloody map, I feel.
Tama, and I think na, you know, looking on the previous performances of DFM here on Ascent, kasi we saw their match against Team Secret. There were those moments na, I don't know if it was hesitation or, again, I feel like those jitters that they get. We saw that happen here on this Fracture, and I feel like makikita din natin ito LED here on Ascent because they tend to, you know, save that util, and on those rounds that they do win, they do have very, very expensive rounds, and I feel like this is why they were so successful in that second half. And in the second half, I mean, the first half they were successful, in the second half they fell off because although yung comp nila was more for attacking, right? You had that Fade, Breach, and Raze combo, but I think na with Sinfree not being able to execute it, the intention, it wasn't able to be executed.
Oh, speaking of, yun nga, si Sinfree medyo talagang nalungkot ako sa kanyang performance. But then we gotta like consider na he's a flex main but not a duelist.
Yeah.
So it's really hard talaga makahanap ng duelist player talaga sa side ng DFM. But right now, seems like may surprise tayo, right?
Yeah.
Diba? Sino ba yung mag-replace kay Sinfree ngayon?
Yan, nag-auto-lock ng race. Di naman pala duelist main. Nako, syempre, ibang duelist main siguro yan. Pero looking at this Ascent, I want to talk about it a little bit. Kasi the last time na nag-face off ang DFM and Talon, actually Talon banned Ascent. Now they're picking it. That means either they have strats to beat DFM here. Kasi kung titignan natin yung stats nila, right? Ascent, not their best map. It's actually one of their worst maps kung tutuusin in terms of stats. 29% win rate, 2 out of 7 games. But they picked it now. So I feel like Talon has something up their sleeve talaga. Something that will make them a little bit more confident. Maybe they're not gonna stick to that, standard Ascent play.
Oh, speaking of that Ascent din kasi, G10, etong Talon based lang sa kanilang roster, lalo na si Foxes, si Cruz, nung di pa sila nagkakaroon ng additional other members, magaling talaga yung performance nila dito sa Ascent. They're one of the teams actually that introduced that Sova X Fade combo, and it was pretty successful. But I'm not sure how they want to apply it here in Ascent, lalo na may mga bago ngayon and may chamber na. So baka yun yung pwede na lang i-pull out ngayon pagdating sa map na to, which is I'm really interested dahil ang daming surprise factors sa mga team. Kanina nga sinurpress na nila tayo with Garnets once again on that, diba? Tapos si Curse nag-iba nga kagad ng role. And how much more kaya will that be kapag nandito tayo sa map pick na ng Talon Esports?
Exactly, and I think, speaking of the map pick of Talon Esports, again, DFM lost their own map, and we were talking about this kanina off-cam na yung mga teams from South
Korea.
Yeah, South Korea or just East Asia in general, when they lose that first map, nawawala yung composure nila, yung mental nila. And I think na this is why we saw them fall off in that second half kasi their first half plan was not working. And I think very, very crucial that they start, I think, a bit slower here because I think that they're not going to be able to keep their composure going into this, especially I think they're going to be starting on that defense here.
Yeah.
So with Talon setting the pace, it's going to be very, very difficult for them.
Yeah, so the problem is for DFM in particular, if they want to, slow it down, Talon won't let them. Because Talon, they are one of the really aggressive teams dito sa Pacific, right? They love just pressing W. They love just going for aim duels, especially nakita din natin in that last map that they're really not afraid to just be in your face. So if DFM want to try to slow this down, they have to, spend a lot of util just to keep Talon off of them.
Sa tingin ko naman itong si DFM, meron naman silang kayang gawin dito. Lalong-lalo na unang half nila is defending. And if magpipick sila ng Jet with those Jet plays here in mid, maybe they can finally shut down those aggressive members of Talon. But at the same time naman, Talon, saan ba sila magaling? Sa defending talaga. Pinakita na nila yan ng Fracture, and it's gonna be the same here in Ascent. Ang tagal na nga nilang di nilalaro to. But then the experience of this team, dito sila nakatalo ng mga malalakas na team, not just only in APAC but also in the international scene as well. So there's just a lot of ways na meron tayo sa dalawang teams na to. But then the most important thing here is isa na lang before Talon can actually win this and proceed to the next round.
Yeah. It's a little bit sad to think na this could be the last game ng DFM because there's a lot of potential talaga sa roster na to. A lot that we were kind of expecting, especially from Anthem. As he did perform a lot. He basically was the biggest factor kung bakit naka 7 rounds yung DFM. Pero the rest of the team just was not able to match it. So if DFM lose this, well, that's it for them. Single element.
That's right. And we were talking about this kanina, Ray, na this was a kind of a battle of the initiators here because we had Atham versus Cruz versus, I think, Jit Boys as well. Like, all of them here on Fracture, you do want to have that double initiator. Pero here, moving on to Ascent, we do know how useful that double initiator here. And it's going to be that difference. Siyempre, may Sova tayo. It's definitely a staple on Ascent. The difference, I think, is going to be that fade or that KO. And what do you think we're going to be seeing here? Because I feel like, someone is definitely going to bring out that fade. Is it going to be DFM again, or is it going to be Talon?
I think it's gonna be Talon, but then looking at them, they don't usually play that fade anymore. Parati silang Sova X KO. Sino nag-Sova? Syempre si Fox is one of the best nga that we've seen so far. And KO, maybe it might go into Patipan. Na dito pa, dadagdag ko lang din, this is very crucial. It's been a while since nag-LAN tournament tong mga to.
True.
Right? They haven't touched this kind of a big arena in a few months. So, ngayon talaga yung nag-a-adjust na nga lang sila. Pressure
Yeah.
pa kasi best of one and it's up to them talaga to make those answers.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, during VPL, medyo nadidistract din talaga yung DFM with the crowd there. And that really is a factor, right? Especially when you're trying to concentrate and really focus in sa laro na kailangan mo mag-perform. So, they have to get their heads in the game, only focus on what's in front of them, the screen lang talaga. And they have to pull something out of the hat right here. So the cards na nasa sleeves nila, dapat ilabas na lahat ng DFM ngayon.
Hey, guys! Say hi to
let's go.
Zelda!
Korean chat!
Kaya na. Alam niyo ba kung bakit na-nerf yung yung right click? Dahil kay Soldam. Alam niyo sa ang map? Sa Ascent.
Yes!
That's right, and we have again our superstar Korean Jet here back on the side of DFM. It's very weird nga to see DFM without running Soldam here, but again, we have seen them try to integrate Suggest and Soldam together, which hopefully works out for them here on Ascent, but it looks like we are going to be looking at a mirror matchup.
Yep. Pretty much standard Ascent composition, and I kind of am blindsided here because I thought that Talon would be bringing something different out, but I just feel like they're confident in their Ascent now. They've probably scripted this map 1,000 times ngayon to shore up their weaknesses.
Maybe mas improved na yung flashes ni Patipan. Maybe Crows could have practiced more on this agent rather. So yun nga talaga yung naging changes nila ngayon. And eto, Crows on that KO, yan ang magiging factor siguro pagdating sa Talon to get this upper hand.
That's right. We're seeing a lot of role shifting here. Going to be very interesting to see what Talon has prepared for us. And definitely, DFM is not expecting this. But I think Game 2 is just about to be underway. And again, very, very excited to see what these two teams have in store for us.
Tatandaan nyo guys kapag mirror matches talaga, makita natin kung sinong better execution.
That's right. Well, oras na para sa game number 2 of our opening match for LCQ. Is this going to be the end for DFM or will they come back for a game number 3? We'll just have to find out sa ating mga casters. Asarai and Sayora, back to you.
At muli, nagbabalik tayo dito sa ating VCT LCQ. Pangalawang laro na natin sa ating first match of the day between DFM and Talon. My name is Zaya and with me is Asarai. So Asarai, mirror match tayo ngayon.
Yeah.
Ano to? Bakit? Bakit sa tingin mo na mirror match? Kasi akala ko talaga na may kakaiba na ipapakita ang Talon sa atin ngayon.
Yeah, first a couple of things, alam na natin na this kind of, composition na nakikita natin na both of the teams are using is basically the best comp na or the most used composition sa Ascent. What was very interesting though is ni G10, Talon likes to play a lot differently. But we have seen then na Talon's adjustment ngayon during that downtime na ginawa nila is putting Patifan as the smoker. Cruz will be the set flasher talaga because he knows all of the intricacies na. He's been playing this far longer than Patifan has. Alam naman natin na si Patifan kumabalang bang-bang muna yan tapos bumalik dito sa Valorant when his career ended in that particular other esports title. Garnets will be the jet player. So I think now that they've optimized yung roles nila, going into the more more common pickups dito sa Ascent is gonna be much better para sa Talon.
Pangkaraniwan, pero yun din ang pinaka-comfort ng ating mga players ngayon. And syempre, what better way to win games, diba? Kung komportable ka sa agent na pinipili mo ngayon. Nakikita natin ngayon, we are seeing a potential A main take para sa team Talon. Pero makikita doon sa ating high mid, na-leave into a half health itong si Garnet. Pero still, the turret handa na doon kung may second pick man na mangyari for Soltab. But right now, we do see here, parehas na Jet. May bawas sa kanilang HP. So, it's really up to Talon kung paano sila magiging aggressive dito sa ating A-take. Kasi mag-smoke na dito si Patifan and now slowly creeping in. Pero pumasok ang dalawa sa miyembro ng DFM dito. Sinusupresa sila. Pero mukhang magbaback off for now. Madidetect ang dalawa sa suppression dito ni Suggest. So, nagbaback sila ngayon,
Yeah. So it's basically mind games. Nag-smoke sila para ma-clear and maybe be able to push up on sa wine para ma-spotan kung may nagtago doon na player ng DFM. And what's kind of good about this is I do like that Suggest actually throw out yung kanyang blade kasi nobody would actually play in that particular corner where Reita is. Pero tingnan mo naman, clear out ito ng Talon. Suggest as well as si Takej, pumapalaga the back to the side and it is working beautifully para sa kanila. Soldam can't hit the shot, 1 versus 2. Pero teka lang muna. Anthem, he's got the HP and he's got the lineup and huli niya sa dalawa ang shock dart. No need to even use ang pistol niya because Anthem is here with the lineups.
Ang ganda ng pagkakalinya niya ng kanyang dalawang shock dart dito para kay Foxes. As in talagang asintado kung asintado niya dito ang kanyang mga skills. At tingnan natin yung clutch play niya dito. So maganda ang pagkakagawa ni Suggest at ni Patifa dito yung talagang pagtatambal nila ng mga sprays. But ito mo, yung isa, half health ngayon si Jetboyes at nakuha lang ni Anthem dito ang napakagandang clutch play for DFM. Si DFM pala yun. Pero ngayon, makita natin medyo agresibo this time pero naiwan ng spike sa high mid. At ang maganda dito kasi is, syempre pag nakuha nga naman ng pistol, it's also a moment for them to take that chance for potential momentum. Pero mukhang ma-shutdown to ni DFM at masusustain nila to dahil Bulldogs across, maganda ang weaponry at na-i-deny ang potential A-take ng Talon ngayon.
Yeah, Talon, hindi sila known for their incredible eco rounds. So, gusto nilang tapusin to as soon as possible nga. At big problem na lang para sa nila. It's not gonna be possible to sneak one in. Soldam already hiding dito sa labasan ng B main. There's the setup already. There's the recon dart. Edging in closer. Yeah, deny nga naman pero they're just hoping na baka makapag sila close the distance nga and try to get that catch onto Soldam.
Pero makakahirap to kasi then again, gaya nga na napansin natin, maganda ang mga weapons ng Team DFM dito. Talagang nakapitalize nila ang pistol round kamakailan lang. So ngayon, medyo ipet ang miyembro ng Talon. Nag-iingay pa rin sa A-site tong si Patifan. Pero up to what cost? They only have 23 seconds sa ating oras. At may kita ng isa. Pero wala munang mahihin. Pero dito, si Soldam nakagawa ng paraan para ma-take down itong si Foxes from Speedway. So it's only up to Jitboy. Pero mas secure din ni Anthem ang kill. And for Reita, alam na nandun pa rin si Patifan. At hindi din siya umalis dun sa A-site.
Yun ang isasabi natin. Hindi talaga known ang Talon para makakuha ng great value dito para sa kanilang mga pistol rounds or mga eco rounds nila. That being said, ito na nga yung kanilang hinihintay na gun round. And this is where it's getting a little bit more interesting, Saya, because the big factor dito is ano sabihin to? Soldam, not the best guy to actually fall back on as the duelist. Kahit masabihin ng paano, kahit masabihin ng bang tao na siya is pinakamagaling na jet player sa Korea, I will say otherwise pag umabot tayo sa competitive scene. Kasi it's been many times na mag-isa lang siya susugod kagaya ng ganito at mahuhuli siya. If he pushes through the smoke, kita mo kung gaano kadaming mata nakatingin sa kanya. Buti na sakit sa likod niya dito as that smoke gives him a bit of coverage. Maybe even the paranoia to give him a little bit more smoke para makapag-mamba out muna sila. One pick off onto Suggest though, not gonna look too good para sa nila. And Reita has been spotted and Foxy securing that A short control. Takej, makakahuli na isa. Pero they might have lost control of A site altogether. Pero si Anthem nandito pa din.
Ang ganda ng pagkakabawi ng kanilang mga miyembro. Pero dito lamang ang Talon, at least by 1. Pero si Soldam dito, i-equalize niya yung board. Sige, 4v3, gawin natin 3v3 ulit, which is a good job. At maganda din yung call niya na nag-back out siya dun sa B-main. It only means na iniwasan yung pagkaka-pick off sa kanya in the process. Gaya nga sabi mo, daming mata nakatingin. So magandang disiplina din yun, slowly but surely. Pero again, we are seeing here, may smokes from Takej and as well as Patifan. Pero ngayon, nagsispray lang sila at this point kasi yan na for the defuse. Pero mukhang nag-miss sa mga shots. Patifan with the one, Cruz with another. Pero makahabol pa rin ang pagkaka-defuse ng Spike. At minsan yun ang importante sa bawat round. Hindi man kills, but the fact na na-defuse mo yung Spike, it's all the more importance there.
And that's also through yung double spray down dito ng Talon. Kahit man nabigyan ng smoke coverage dito si yung Omen ng DFM still able to get that through. A little bit of, I think, a little bit of confidence din sa Talon. They did have the double flash para kay Cruz, so they may be hoping sila tuwang-tuwa sila kasi hindi nila expect na makakuha nila yun. They should have actually lost that. Lalo na take down yung 2 players nila. In any case, Talon, they do have the money. Max loss bonus nila plus yung kanilang na-save ng weapons, pero huling-huli dito si Takej. Hindi siya makakataka, so kailangan lang palagan ang laban ngayon. Good thing na lang, Takej is good for it. There's the counter flash and the pushback na ang Talon.
Ang ganda ng pagkakasuporta ni Takej doon to really secure the kills through and through. And ang maganda to kasi mas lalong nasa-stabilize ng DFM yung position nila ngayon. Having a complete roster right now, buhay. And it's now forcing Talon to really separate. Pero matataman ng bahagya itong si Jit Boy. That's gonna be the Nano Swarm making noise ngayon. Ang Talon pero mukhang ipet pa rin. Kasi nasa high mid ngayon si Foxes. Tinatry niyang tignan kung may magro-rotate ba, pero ang gusto ko pa rin yung pagkaka-stay put lang ng DFM dito sa kanilang mga site, hoping for that potential rotate that can come from Talon. Pero ngayon, nakikita natin na they're buying time. Ayan, may smoke na ibinigay si Takej sa entry ng B main. So para mas madali nga naman i-isolate ng fights neto ni Anthem at ni Reyta. Mamaya, 20 seconds na kailangan nilang i-push to. Wala silang dash na pwedeng work around ngayon. Pero nakuha si Reyta ata doon sa pag-suppress.
Yeah, so
wala nang oras. Kailangan na nilang mag-push. Pupunta na sa speedway. Babato na ng mga skills. From the behind, Reyta gets 1. Cruz may trade. Pero nakaantabay, nakabantay. Dito ang dalawa. At masesecure muli ni Takej with the 4K ang kanilang pang-apat na round.
Couple of things na nangyari doon. Kita natin, again, natry nga KO Blade dito. Tama nga si Reyta, so na-deactivate yung lockdown or yung alarm bot on mid, so nakapag-push si Foxy. But that doesn't make any big sense din naman because they did have 20 seconds, so kailangan pa rin itakbo yun. They wanted to play a lot more stealthily, pero time just does not give them that satisfaction. And what's a big thing then is, it's either they didn't track it or they didn't really care na meron pang from the shadows si Takej. Nakita mo, there were 3 players on A, but ang dali ng DFM makapag-rotate because they still had that ultimate from the Omen para makatulong dun sa back ng B. So everything that Talon wanted to do, okay sana kung sinugod na lang nila agad. At least it gave them maybe an extra 5 seconds buffer and that would have been enough. Kahit man, again, gusto sana ni Foxy maging cheeky and makasingit sa mid. Pero that being said, didn't work out. So back to the drawing board muna ngayon ang Talon.
Nakita ko na may pagdududa sa bawat pag-entry ng Talon dito. Kaya nga naman na naiipit sila sa bandang B main katulad ng last round. So the best thing that Talon can do here right now is to be a bit more aggressive or assertive sa kung paano sila mag-take ng side. Pero that's gonna be, I think, this round dahil dash in for Garnet. Closing in market doors at ito na ang senyas para sa DFM na for the potential retake kasi yan napaplat na ang ating spike. So makikita from the mid, Foxes gets 1 pero si Soldam may pag-trade. Sheriff mawi-whiff pero makuha pa rin ni Patifan. May kita double doon sa ating mid link and may free guns galore ngayon si Patifan. But right now, this is a 4v2 situation. Dalawa sa Talon ng low HP so pwede nilang i-bait yun. Pero Pati, we do see here slowly entering towards market. May kita si Takej. And that's gonna be a triple. Meron may senyas na dito from Bilong. Shutdown ni Anthem. Pero may pahabol si Garnet. Getting now finally their first win for this round.
Yeah, incredibly smart dito para kay Patifan. Alam niya na low HP siya. You think na baka mag-double up na siya kay Jet Boys, pero since it is yung retake ng DFM, him pushing up onto mid makes a lot more sense. More ground to cover, more options, and more information na makakuha nila. And great shot na nahuli niyo doon kay Reyta. Kita mo si Takej, not even expecting kasi alam mo lang low na si Patty eh. Pero that's why Patty has been called a superstar. That's why minahal pa rin siya ng Talon kahit man nawala siya ng ilang buwan na bumalik siya dahil sa ganun pa rin ang kanyang aggression kahit man dito sa Valorant. Soldam though gets caught, suppressed for a couple of seconds, di niya magagamit yung blades niya, pero dahil sa nahuli siya, dahil sa naabangan siya dito, natamaan siya nung kaya blade niya ng Talon, alam agad nila there's something up dun sa A short, so maybe not gonna be checking that out, especially na may support pa dito si Soldam ni Takej. Paranoia is available so they can't really take their this mid control lightly.
Totoo yan. And maganda rin yun na pangyayari para dito kay DFM kasi na-delay nila yung push. So, mafo-force ngayon ang Talon to have a different kind of strategy in terms of taking another side. So, medyo may second attempt na mangyayari dito sa B-main. Pero look at how the util na manggagaling kay Reyta ay nakastack doon sa pinaka-entrance ng B-main. So, kailangan nila mag-ingat dito to really prevent them from, depleting yung health and at the same time maayos ang pagkakakuha. Pero magandang updraft dash ang ginawa doon ni Garnet. So, it kind of solidified yung pagkakasecure ng B-side. So, the take was successful. Ngayon, kinakailangan lang nilang i-reflect yun sa post-plant na mangyayari ngayon. At nakita natin, may gumamit na ng Shadows doon, trying to get a more good position. Pero Zelda was able to get Foxes doon gamit ang kanyang ult. Pero nakita niya dito si Reyta, alam ko eh. Pero yan na, magkakaroon ng shutdown for Takej for getting Jitboy as well. Magkakaroon ng Molly here to then delay the potential push. Pero wala pa rin naman. Nakita sa smoke. Patifan gets a 3 Reyta for the shutdown. And may trade off respectively from DFM. This is a 2v1 situation. Si Cruz na lang ang natitira. Isolate niya yung fight. That's gonna be one making another. Si Reyta dito, hindi alam kung saan lilingon. At ang clutch play from Talon is really successful here for this 6th round.
Grabe din ang Talon na gusto talaga nila na ipakita sa atin na sila ang team na gagawin ang lahat para lang makahanap ng firefight. No need to secure the site. Yun ang sinabi nila kasi they had the site itself. Nakapag-clear si Garnet sa sinabi nila, hahabulin natin yung kills kahit alam natin na may rifle buys dito ang DFM. Papakita natin kung bakit tayo ang Talon at kung bakit tayo ang mananalo sa game na ito. Literally just, again, showing overwhelming gun power, firepower para sa mga Thai representatives.
Oh, at ito na nga, dahil doon napa-time out ang Team DFM. Despite them na sila yung lamang ngayon para dito sa first half, it only means na siniseryoso din talaga nila kung paano pag-take to. Kasi may possibility kasi para sa likes ng Talon na tumuloy-tuloy yung kanilang momentum kapag napabayaan. At ito yung gustong mapigilan ng DFM dito, I think, for the timeout, which is actually a good call. Pero at the same time, dun sa may previous round natin, Azurite, the fact that Patifan was able to use yung ult niya para makapag-flank from behind, shuts down 2. Ibig sabihin, they already got the B side, as you said, by all the more Patifan securing the flank.
What's good about din dito is, yun na nga, diba? DFM alam na nga, sinabi na nga, we have to take this time out. I think what's also coming into their heads then is specifically, maasim na maglaro yung Talon. So if ganun pa rin ang magiging methodology nila dito sa mga rounds na ito, if DFM calls that out sa kanilang break and actually looks to aggress onto it, baka makakuha sila ng picks eh. Tignan mo agad, alam na nila na mahilig nga na sumobra ang Talon sa map control. Kaya sinugod ng DFM sa mid. Uubusin nila to hanggang sa kaya nila. Pero grabe naman yun. Through the window, through the wall, through the smoke, Foxy hits it all. 1 versus 1 na lang. Anthem can maybe pick up yung guardian ng kanyang teammate. Foxy, tingin ka muna sa short kasi nakaabang na si Anthem. Still looking at the corner. Kita na yung barrel ng gun. He's holding the angle and Foxy hits the shot. Buti na lang nandyan si Foxy. Nandito siya ng fracture, nandito siya ng ascent, and nandito siya para tulungan tumaas ang Talon.
Lahat through wins and tides, through skills and util, Foxes still rise to the top with the amazing gunplay. Ito naman dito, so magsisimula, maganda ang paninimula ng DFM dito, really securing the 2K from Soldam and Garnet. May trade, si Reyta din naman, pero ang naging problema dito is with the usage of util, na pa-misposition ngayon si Reyta in a very vulnerable spot doon sa bandang gitna, to which si Foxes naman, tinake advantage niya yung pagkakataon na yun, at hindi lang yun, dahil nakita nga naman at information ang barrel ng gun na yon from mid, it gave him the perfect opportunity para antabayanan ng isang angulo from mid link, and Talon was able to really push it through despite all of that aggression na nanggaling dun sa ating mid lane. So ngayon kung titingnan natin yung position nila sa ating minimap, kalat sila, but at the same time, this is them really trying to provide as much intel para sa kanilang mga koponan. Pero ngayon, we are seeing paunti-unti na silang nagko-crawl in towards A side. Pero take note, this could be a potential, refrag position for Talon, which is actually happening. So may trade na nangyari na blind. Ngayon dito, si Takej uses the shadow to go into Jenny. And ngayon, this is gonna be an ulti to be used by Suggest to try and deny the potential A-take, which happened din nga naman at nag-decide na si Talon ngayon to go for a different approach.
Yan, patay na si Cruz. So makakabigyan na siya ng mas maayos na calls para sa players niya. The big thing is, the reason din kung bakit na nag-push siya, may gusto nila malaman kung saan si Rita. So at least malalaman agad nila kung saan niya mapa-place out yung lockdown niya, whether it's for the side take or the retake. Pero hindi tumingin sa gilid. Nakapunta pa si Rita sa archway. Nagkamali ang call dito ngayon ng Talon. Tinatry nilang hulihin siya, pero nandito na ang rest ng DFM. Shock darts would be there. Yes, pero tingnan mo naman, 4 versus 1. Foxy spots out Takej, pero Spikes is all out in the middle. So mahahope na lang niya dito siguro is to get a frag. Nakasingit siya, and he will get the exit, pero it's all done. Makakuha na ang DFM ngayon ng solid straight round, and was all because they did not check. Akala ni Garnets na Rita would play a more passive angle, pero DFM's call, very good.
Kamuntikan na din makuha si Rita din in the process. Pero again, that corner, mga change maker para dito sa DFM. All the more helping them solidify or to really fortify yung kanilang standings ngayon. Kasi all it takes is that one corner to turn things around, and Foxes didn't really have much more option during that point. Kasi syempre, bukod sa napapalibutan na ng mga katauhan ang Spike, it also, you don't really want to, waste enough more economy as you can. So this is gonna be a timeout para sa Talon, and they really need to, try and polish out kung paano nga sila makapag-take ng site, or magkaroon sila ng isang strategy na hindi lang beneficial syempre sa kanila, but also may kakayahan na ma-take off guard yung current momentum na meron na ang DFM ngayon.
This could be something interesting then. Garnets has the blades na ngayon. They could actually go for any aggressive site take dito. Kasi what's good about this is, habang ginagawa nila yun, Jitboys can pick up an orb. He can even plant the spike. That means na makakuha siya ng dito, ng kanyang lockdown. And siyempre, shouts nga pala dyan kay Sushi Boys na nasa harapan natin. But anyways, they do have the blades. And, hindi, slope. I don't know if it's a slow play, 15 seconds para makapag-regroup sila, pero mukhang tigil lang muna na onte. Maybe the play is something similar sa sinabi ko. Push mo na sa B main, kuha ng orb dito para kay Jet Boys, then go sa A side. They have the blades, kagaya sabi ko, para kay Garnets, so they can still employ yung attack na yun, not at the start of the round, but at least later on muna.
Meron ng ult na inilabas dito si Garnet at this point. So ngayon, it's really just about how to take the position. Maganda na yung pagkakagawa niya nung mga nakaraang rounds na taking the Cloudburst, then updraft, dash to really get into side or into the boat house. Pero ngayon, mukhang maingat na this time sa DFM. Not really hesitating this time para ilabas ang shock dart para lang ma-push sa Lawi. Pero mukhang may nakita dito ang ating mga miyembro ng Talon. This time, medyo slow pa rin ang pagkakapush nila. Hindi sila nag-rush only because ayaw din nila naman ng casualties in the process. So, ang ating suppress walang makukuha. But then, nandito ulit. Nakikita ulit natin yung kagandahan ng DFM dito. The fact na hindi sila nape-fade or nafa-falter sa mga ingay na ginagawa ngayon ng Talon. They're still there. They're still remaining. They're waiting for Talon to enter.
Nililito nila ang DFM nga. Pero kagaya na sinabi mo, hindi mukhang na babudge ang DFM dito. Rather na walang clear out ang Talon na mid-present. So nandun pa rin yung alarm bot. Hindi pa rin na wiwindang dito si Rita about that mid-control. Anyways, this is going to be the aggressive push agad. They need to find Garnets with the pick dito. Kai! Anthem, right-click with the blades is going to be good. Cancel on the TP ni Takej. And backside is Talon's na. 4 versus 1. Jet Boys goes into the site. Kala ko makakuha siya ng orb para meron silang lockdown, pero hindi. Because this is going to be a big factor in. Kasi if DFM do get front of the site, meron lockdown si Rita. So kailangan nilang i-flush out yung positionings nila. Jet Boys on B main will have to be a pivotal position ngayon, Seiya. Because if not, baka mahuli sila. That being said, Foxy does have the Hunter's Fury, and kita mo kung gano'ng kalayo siya ngayon outside of B. So maybe there's a better position ngayon for Talon to actually quite utilize. Jet Boys, susugurin na siya dito ngayon, pero hindi mangyayari. Soldam gets immediately gutted. But Foxy still has that second push outside ng B main. Yan ang sinasabi ko. There's the lockdown already para kay Rita. Pero there is the Hunter's Fury for Foxy to destroy it immediately. Tago lang ng onti para kay Garnet. Set up the crossfires. Abang-abang lang. Do they have the timing? Is it going to be good? Cruz Hello, sugod.
Hello.
Take the headshot and that's going to be clean para sa Talon.
Ang ganda ng pagkaka-strategize dito this time ng Talon. Again, I think expected naman na talaga nila nagagamitin ni Reyta ang kanyang lockdown sooner or later, whether it be early or late phases ng retake potential nila. Pero maganda ang pagkaka-open dito ni Garnet. The fact na coming in, updraft dash towards both house, uses the ult against Anthem rather, is already good enough to stabilize yung pagkakasecure nila ng B site. And hindi pa nagtatapos doon. Again, nabanggit mo yung pagkakaposisyon ni Foxes doon. Malayo, ibig sabihin maganda ang chance niyang masira ang lockdown, which is nagawa naman ng matiwasay nito ni Foxes. So ngayon, they're gonna attempt another B take here, Azurai, but this time with a different approach kasi mga papasok dito sa Reyta, nag-3v1, make it another, pero masya-shutdown ngayon ni Garnet. And this time, for a 3v4 situation, makikita natin tumatakbo na sa mid, pero from the flank, from the high mid, makikita natin, nakuha ang isa, pero magiging pangalawa ba? Pero from B main, Garnet secures the kill. At hindi pa silang tatapos dito. From underneath, we do see one, but there's gonna be a trade na magaganap. And this is a 2v1 from an earlier 4v3 ha. So ngayon, Cruz is already going to plant the spike. Medyo open ang pagkaka-plant niya dito, which is good for the potential crossfire na pwede magyari sa kanila. From market naman, papasok dito sa Suggest. Azurai, this only takes, one good position from Suggest to take this potential clutch.
Lumalayo masyado si Garnet, sa'yo na. He has to be called back now with his teammate. Pero the timing, Suggest has an understanding na nandun na nga may posibilidad na nakatago at naglalurk, nagpa-flank si Garnet dahil sa positioning ng pag-spike or pag-plant ng spike. Pero hindi pa rin ito sapat. 5-5, bumabawi na ang Talon.
At maganda din. Tamo, from behind, hindi nila in-anticipate na si Reyta ay magpupush. Kasi normally, nandun lang naman yung mga util niya. At nandun siya from B-long, just waiting for the peak to happen. Pero this time, maganda din naman yung pagkaka-approach Reyta. But at the same time, for the side of Talon, nagawan pa rin nila ng paraan para mabaliktad ang laro. And looking good din sila in terms of their eco as well. Pero napaka-consistent din ang pagkakakuha nila ng B-take. And I think this is working para sa side ng DFM kasi this is also a good chance ma-condition din ang DFM to keep on going into B para they may potentially be surprised pagka nag-A take tong Talon.
Patifan still holding sa A main, so that means na if that turret spots out something, tingnan mo pwede siya actually makapag-push through. Pero teka lang muna, dahil sa kailangan ni Patifan mag-TP pa from A to B, wala siyang smoke doon sa market at sa A main. Tingnan mo naman, push na push sila dito, pero Patifan, syempre, gunfire is real. It's all about the gun works. Teka, hindi pa tapos. Soldam, 2 versus 1. Cloudburst getting back into the corner muna. Taps the spike. Forces 1 to start fighting, pero nagkamali siya. Hindi niya nasira ang Nano Swarm, so alam nila he is off it. And pag narinig na yung tap niya ulit, they understand na hindi siya half at all. Patifan with a 4K. Nagkamali na onti ang Talon doon, but the ability para i-reclaim yung ground lost, sobrang ramdam mo sa Talon.
Nabawi niya. Oo, hindi siya nakapaglagay ng smoke na dapat detrimental, but at the same time, gumana at napunta pa sa pabor niya dahil gumamit siya ng ulti doon. At nandun siya sa stairs. Maganda ang position niya to anticipate the people coming in from market. It worked wonders for the side of Talon, and Patifan here really making a statement. Talagang hindi siya agad-agad na itutumba.
One more round na lang dito para sa ating first half, and Patifan sporting the operator muna in his hands. There's probably a rifle somewhere. He's just looking for that first pick just in case. Medyo desperate na ng DFM, actually putting Anthem on the Odin.
Ooh.
That's gonna be something, as well as Soldam na naka-judge dito, but no pushes on B main just yet. Rotating the rest na ng squad dito sa A main. Suggest holding muna yung mid. Still 15 seconds away from his KO blade para makakuha ng any information whatsoever. Pero kita mo yung dito, slow approach ng Talon. Alam nilang may weird na nangyayari dito sa particular round na natin.
Actually, ito na nga yung nabanggit ko kanina na dahil puro sila BTEC, ayan na, kinondisyon na sila. At si Soldam ngayon, gumamit na ng judge. Pero paano siya malapit? It's not gonna be another kill. Foxes was able to take it down. Pero again, this is a potential ace, I think. Alam na nandun siya sa Cloudburst. Nakita dapat yung ulo pero hindi pa rin nakuha. As Garnet will be taking Rita down instead. Pero that's gonna be the ult Blazer. Pero hindi mo siya nag-correct. Suggest Patifan for the trade. Sino ang mas angat? Ang op galing kay Patifan. And just like that, with the speed nakuha ni Talon ang last round before, switching.
Grabe. May chance nahiwalay sila pero nakuha pa rin ng Talon yung both successes on both fronts. Napakaganda na nakita natin. Anyways, usap muna tayo na dito. Quick little halftime. 50 seconds. Pero, grabe going back sa sinabi ko dito sa B-main, akala ko magkakaproblema sila. Soldam already got to take a Cruz, pero Cruz, syempre, no command, it was talaga, his job to see if there was something up sa B-main. Pero grabe, Foxy, combination with Cruz, huli si Soldam, nalo sila. Tapos, lahat na ng forces ng DFM nasa A-site, nakipaglaban din ang other players ng Talon. Akala ko magkakaproblema sila, pero no, they were just solid. Patifan, committed sa pag-hold ng kanyang operator to the end, even gets 2 para makaroon ng final flurry finish dito sa ating first half.
Napaka-polished this time ng performance ni Patifan, if I were to be honest. Kasi na-anticipate na niya kung saan po pwede mag-place ang DFM. So, ang ginagawa niya, nilalagay niya yung position niya kung saan pabor siya. And nakakatulong yung pagkaka-entry ng mga miyembro ng Talon dito sa basically sa antic na ginagawa ni Patifan ngayon. And as well as the support na nakikita natin from Foxes, initiator siya, take note. But at the same time, especially dun sa may post-plat, he has the capability to clean up even more well-polished para sa kanyang team. But for the side naman, minsan ng DFM, maganda na yung standing nila for the few phases of the game. Ang naging problema nga lang, the moment na nakabawi ang Talon nung nagkaroon sila ng tie score of 5-5, dun na sila medyo nag-falter ng paunti-unti kasi hindi nagiging reactive ulit sila sa mga nagagawa ng Talon ngayon.
Ito yung pinakamalaking problema din ng DFM. Ito na yung sasabi ko kung bakit ayaw kasi hindi ako pabor, sorry, hindi sa ayaw. Hindi ako pabor masyado kay Soldam as the duelist nila kasi he does tend to overextend from his team. And the biggest map na ginawa niya yun during the group stage na nilaro nila ang Pacific League was dito sa Ascent. Dito sila dinurog when they actually played the map itself. And another big thing then, just wanted to point it out, Patifan 19 kills. 19. Everyone else from Talon single digits. Again, doing well, pero Patifan is being fed all of the frags.
It only means for now he may not be the duelist at the moment, but at the same time I think the Omen strat that he's doing right now is gumagana. Effective siya, pati yung skill sets ni Omen ngayon with him. Pinaglalaroan niya kung saan siya pwedeng mapumosisyon para magkaroon nga naman ng magagandang kills. It's working out. Pero ngayon, medyo may slow push na nangyayari dito for the side ng DFM. Pero similar din sa tactics na ginagawa ng DFM when they were defending, hindi agad-agad nagro-rotate ang Team Talon. Kasi nga naman, nabanggit din ng panelist to kanina, mas komportable at mas sanay din naman ang Talon pagdating ng defender side. So titignan natin kung talaga magre-reflect to sa ating first shot. Kasi pistol is one, make it another beautiful 6-4. Garnet, the Sheriff kills are on fire. Reta here, may trade nga naman sa ating 3, but that is already huge. 10 seconds on the clock right now. Spike has not been planted yet. Anthem with the 2K, pero si Fox struck dart kill, taking Reta
no time.
down. No time na to plant the spike. All they have to do is to get those kills, but then again, it's in their favor to just wait. And 8th point, pistol surprisingly goes to Talon right now.
Gotta give it din kay Jet Boys. Talagang sinave niya na lang yung spot niya dun sa Hell para hindi makapag-push further pa ang DFM. Pero grabe ang aim dito ni Garnet.
Si Garnet. Ayan, may kita 1, may kita 2. Ang ganda.
Linis ng niya.
Ang clean.
Bumawi naman din si Anthem. Sumunod din with the 3K. Pero at that point, nagkamali na ang DFM dito. And mas lumalala pa ang posisyon nila. Saya kanina, 7 lang ang nakuha sa rounds. Now it's 5, looking a lot grimmer para sa DFM. No aggressive force buys whatsoever. Maybe just yung upgraded pistols. Pero this might not be enough. Cruz, nakabang na siya. Balik sa B-main, balik sa B-main. Nandiyan yung importanteng laban. Pero mukhang hindi. Hindi sila nagsuguran. Looking to be A muna for the moment. Pero ang dami na nilagay na players na ng Talon dito sa A, expecting yung aggressive push or aggressive rush agad ng DFM. Not gonna be working out. And itong drop weapon ni Cruz, very, very juicy ngayon para sa DFM to pick up and use para sa kanilang follow-through sa round na to.
Definitely. Pero again, makikita naman natin na si Foxes nandun na din sa B-site. Pero careful when pushing dahil medyo marami-rami ang tao dito sa ating B-main. Best bet to go is actually for the recon. Yan. Yung nag-recon na nga. And we'll be spotting out many here. That's gonna be one shot, no casualty just yet. May
Foxy.
Cloudburst. Papasok sila. Coming in from Speedway. Pero dito sa gilid, medyo nag-whip na nangyari. Pero nandyan pa rin. Siguro to take a 2K from the Marshall. Foraxes with a kill of his own. Medyo low HP ngayon si Patifan from Market. And hindi pa rin sila spraying from Smoke. Jet Boys gets the kill. Dito, Tita KJ. Pero sa huli, lilinisin ni Garnet with the classic and the 3K to get their 9th point.
Grabe talagang minuneuver nila sarili nila sa lanes through the Cloudburst. And there was some very, very ludicrous interactions. Ano pa dito? Na-flash pa dito si Garnet. Sa habol niya pa rin si Suggest. Absolutely beautiful para kay Garnet. At kay Jet Boys, sobrang crucial players nila. Si Patifan, siya ang wild card. Siya yung susugod talaga. They just have to deal with it na lang kung nagkamali sila or there's utility na hindi niya mabigay kasi he's doing something else. Pero yung anchoring capabilities dito ni Garnet at ni Jet Boys, second to none talaga dito. And it's proving to be too much para sa DFM to handle.
Totoo yan. At hindi nga nakakapag-react ng maayos tong DFM dahil maraming masyadong nangyayari na hindi sila nakaka-catch up. And ngayon, for the side ng Talon, they are looking pretty well. Pero as I say, it's all them actually takes Patifan down with a Phantom Headshot. So ngayon, it's all up to Cruz. Spots out one. This could be a crossfire rather, pero mukhang magbaback out muna siya ngayon. And here, paunti-unti nang pumupunta ang ibang mga miyembro ng Talon from A. That's gonna be a Molly. But then again, nakapag-dash in dito ang dalawang miyembro ng DFM. Suggest that Kedge will be taking a 2K para sa kanyang team. And ngayon, only Jet Boy has to make things work. But medyo mahirap. But at the same time, this is like a bonus round din naman nata sa kanila in terms of weaponry. And ngayon, they already know Jet Boys is in heaven. So nagsispam na sila ng mga bullets in towards the smoke. I think not so much can be done here for Jet Boys because the time is already running out. The A site is populated by DFM and the best thing to do is potentially get exit frags kung sakasakaling magkita sila from mid.
That's the only thing he can actually do nga naman. If he breaks down yung doorway sa short, there's really much not really much na magagawa niya. He tries to be a bit cheeky. Actually, this is also probably a smart play. Yeah, just not getting any extracts na rin kasi he only has the Spectre. Doesn't want to give the charge off. Pag nakakuha si Suggestion, he's already sa kanyang null command. At least he has to force himself to pick up an orb for that particular one. So, in any case, huge bonus para sa DFM dito. They don't lose that many players. That's gonna be amazing. Or actually, they don't lose any players.
Yeah.
At the same time, Talon, Garnet brings out yung kanyang operator with the blades.
Ayan na. Titingnan natin ko talagang magiging effective to. Most likely, position niya yung sarili niya from high mid, trying to see if there are members ng DFM na magpipick. Pero no, Patifan will just smoke it off and they will just have to change their course. Okay. So ngayon, Talon doing their very best right now to just really secure the kill. That's gonna be a flash in towards Garden. May pag-rush. Alam na kung nasan. Pero natalo pa rin ni Patifan with the help of the Cloudburst mismo ni Soldam. So that's gonna be a turret down. May peek. That's gonna be a flash. Pero masasata ni Patifan in the nick of time. May konting whips na mangyayari dito. But still, there is gonna be secure kill para kay Jet Boy. Patifan with the 3K already. Napakaganda ng performance at flawless round for Talon. Napakabilis nilang bumawi kapag kada nagkakaroon ng point tong si DFM.
And yun na nga yung sasabi natin. DFM, I did like how they tried to push agad sa A main and na-realize nila na there was something up sa B. They wanted to go for the quick little pinch. Ang problema dito is they just couldn't find si Patifan as well as couldn't really deal kay Jit Boys. What was kind of good about there is Patifan got the first kill, tapos nag-start na sila magpanic. They started rushing into the side, but again, wala silang mahanap na solid foothold, especially na na-take down agad si Soldam. And speaking of Soldam, tignan mo kung gaano kababa ang kanyang timing. Garnets, well, very stressful situation. Think that that's gonna be an easy shot? Absolutely not.
Nakakaba yun, nag-whip siya. May possibility sanang ma-rush pero hindi ata nila na-realize kaagad. So ngayon, may flash na mangyari, wala pa rin push. That's gonna be one this time. Matatamaan niya dito.
Cruz.
Pero si Cruz, ganda ng pagkakasave niya doon. Kamuntik-muntikan na mamatay si Garnet. Buti na lang nandun siya. Helping the comrade naman talaga. So ngayon, 3 versus 5 Spike. Medyo malayo pa. Nandun pa sa spawn, papunta pa lang. Pero ulit, they're trying to clear it out. Pero may kita dito si Takej. Pero Takej actually wins the fight instead. So ngayon, this could be an opportunity for DFM right now. Pero smokes are already placed dito sa 3. Pero yung swarm grenade, yung swarm, makukuha si Takej with only a half health. Napakaganda naman at napaka-timely din ng pagkaka-pop nung nano swarm. So dito naman
timing.
si Anthem muli ang timing at napunta sa side niya. 2 versus 3 this time around. Meron pa rin naman silang area na pwedeng paglaruan dito, but that's gonna be the spike plant from the A main. Foxes gets 1 pero si Anthem dito with a 2. That makes it a 3K. Now it's a 1v1 situation. Sino mas angat na? Sova, it's gonna be Anthem with the 4K clutch.
Grabe, kung natalo dito ang DFM, feel ko talo na sila sa buong series ito. They're not gonna be able to recuperate dun sa money loss na nangyari sa kanila from that particular round, if ever man. Pero grabe, ang laki ng bigay ng heroics dito ni Anthem. Is able to get the 3K, the great catch onto the 2 dito sa Heaven. Tapos yung just absolute confidence para i-push out yung generator and commit the spray. Tapos nagkatitigid na lang sila. Sino naman ba ang magaling mag-control ng spray sa Vandal dito? Tingnan natin ditong sunod.
Napa-crouch. Ay, hindi na po ita. Pero napa-crouch sila pareho eh. It's just more on kung sino yung may mas magandang angulo sa barrel. Pero again, it was into the hands of Anthem. At ngayon, Hunter's Fury gagamitin. Kung sino man ang matamaan, pero mukhang wala so far. So ngayon, a little bit of setback there. Medyo magbaback muna sila ng bahagya dito para sa side ng DFM. Maybe this time gusto nilang i-utilize tong mid. That's why they are here already crowded in from mid link. Gagamitin ng drone to see if meron nga bang nakaantabay dito sa ating mid market. So far, wala pa nakikita pero nakita nila may sprays na galing from spawn. So ngayon, maganda yung Talon dito. Hindi pa rin sila nagre-react masyado. Kumbaga, I think they're opting for the retake instead. Kasi parang dun sila nagta-thrive. Dun sila kakapitalize, especially kapag maganda ang numbers sa side nila. So market, yung pagkaka-timely ng smoke, hindi sila nakita. That's gonna be the blind dash in. Pero hindi makikita dito si Jess sa gilid. Ngayon, makikita ang isa at si Soldam ang cover para sa kanyang kupunan. Ngayon, dito merong ult nang galing kay, kung di ako nagkakamali, galing kay Reyta ata yun or kay Jetboy. Kay Jetboy ata.
Reyta.
Kay Reyta.
Yeah.
So ngayon, it was destroyed. So it was denied. Coming from Speedway, dalawang makakakita kay Foxes. So DFM was able to actually secure the site this time around.
Yeah, could be just good na lang para sa Garnet sa Jet Boys para save these weapons. Garnet already has the blades. Jet Boys can just drop maybe. So this is still very reimbursable para sa Talon. But I really love yung pag-push ngayon ng DFM. It was a lot more smooth. Kahit man natamaan sila dito nung suppress na natigilan na onti si Soldam sa pag-ano niya and na-double smoke sila dito ni Patifan. Sinugod pa rin nila eh. They still were able to do it, especially dahil sa good positioning ng Paranoia dito ni Takej. That being said, DFM, they are coming out of the claws of defeat ngayon. Don't forget that this is a single elimination best of 3. So, this particular map is yung do or die moment na nila. And 2 rounds ago, akala ko DFM were already done for. Pero they are stalling Talon and they are almost equalizing na. 2 more rounds na lang. Talon feel it, Talon knows it, and they will try to steal that momentum away gamit ang kanilang timeout dito.
Definitely. And I feel like for the side of Talon, I think the retake presence or the retake situation na pwedeng gawin ng Talon dito, I think is much more effective kasi they really work wonders kapag mas lamang kasi sila sa numero kung napapansin mo. Kasi kapag mas marami ang mga members ng DFM kumpara sa kanila, medyo nagfo-falter back na sila, medyo nag-hesitate na sila in terms of trying to really take the side. So I think one of the things that Talon can do para dito sa kanilang sitwasyon is one, to really take away the momentum na napapakita ngayon ng DFM. And the other is, I think, they don't necessarily need to be aggressive. Pero at the same time, I think ang mas kailangan nila is to reinforce yung pagiging assertive nila whenever they do have that retake potential to happen.
Okay.
Grabe. Na-feel ko din yung medyo may extra pressure para sa DFM. Kasi syempre, ito na yung pinakaano nila yung potential last map nila. So, there's no really room for mistakes. Kahit sabihin natin wala pang 12 points dyan
Teka lang muna, tignan mo natin tong setup ng Talon. May lineup si Foxy. Nandito din si Garnet. May angle pa na makakapag-double up drop siya dito sa short or sugod siya agad dito sa mid. Mukhang mid push agad. Mid presence ang hahanapin ng Talon. Walang nakatingin sa likod. And ito na si Garnet. Double kills agad gamit ang kanyang Blade Storm, and Blade Stopper na momentum ngayon ng DFM. Little bit too overmuch commitments. Intay muna sa pag-suppress kasi meron pa rin Blade si Garnet. And tignan mo naman si Cruz all the way from A main. And that's gonna be the pinch. Kinakala ng DFM na kaya nila ito. Kala nila na makakakuha sila ng nice little setup pero nagkamali sila, nabulag sila sa katotohanan na Talon still had so many strats, so many plays sa kanilang pocket.
Ito ang sinasabi natin na talagang placing your assertiveness dito sa ating strategy. Hindi nila in-expect na talaga magpupush sila from B. At yan nga, this is the situation na masasandwich talaga sila. All the way doubled from the Blade Storm dito, galing kay Garnet and si Cruz from A main. Hindi na nag-hesitate to push. So, ibig sabihin, mas naging stable yung pagkaka-sandwich na doon in towards a site. So ngayon, this is gonna be another, remake or let's say a bit more upgrade for DFM to really try and improve their stats. Kasi ngayon, high mid will try to see it at si Garnet naka-secure ng kill. Handa na siya for any potential peaks. And that is crucial kasi wala na smoker na pwedeng i-work around itong si DFM other than the Cloudburst na pwedeng manggaling kay Soldan. Pero that's more widely used para sa kanya. Para pang entry niya
Medyo outdated na rin yung pag-jiggle pick mo sa top mid ng ganon para makakuha ka ng information. Kasi, a lot of duelists basically know the angle na, know the timings, and know the punish time for that particular jiggle. In any case, DFM nakikipaghariba, cha-cha-cha na lang, pero si Foxy, habang gamit ang kanyang Hunter's Fury all the way from downtown dito sa B main, has caught yung holder, yung handler ng spike. It's already dropped. Kailangan i-pick up ito ng DFM. And now, hindi pa nila ma-push out ito because of the lockdown, because of the detain threat na binibigay ngayon ni Jet Boys. Reyta at Anthem na lang matitira. 3 versus 2. Foxy has a great control onto mid, pero buti na lang para sa DFM dito. They were somehow able to manage picking up that spike, manage to be able to also go into the A site. Pero, ang pinaka-problema sila ngayon is hindi nila alam kung nasan ang kalaban nila. They can plant the spike, which is good, but they have to stay into the site. What's also pretty good din dito siguro para sa DFM is malayo ang rotation ng other two players ng Talon. Slow play para kay Foxy dito. He's gonna make sure na lang na walang maglalaro ng A main, but at the same time,
nakatingin naman sila pareho sa A main. Pero the problem dito is paano kung magkaroon ng potential, refrag or crossfire capabilities. Pero si Reyta dito nakatingin sa garden. Pero merong train mga galing kay Jetboy na makikita ngayon. Dito si Anthem, dito from Hell. Pero masisecure ngayon ni Foxy. And this is match point. Suray, ano pa ang pwedeng gawin ni DFM dito? Kasi mukhang medyo nadideplete na sila sa mga strats
not just depleted din, Talons, again, back dun sa point na sabi natin, sobrang convincing nila, sobrang confident nila sa kanilang ginagawa na mga plays.
Grabe, ang smooth talaga na pagkaka-off kill doon ni Garnet. Pati dito sa may bilong eh. So talagang asintado kung saan ang positioning. And I think this is the magic of, Talon right now. It's not just they're confident, but the fact na kaya pa rin nilang i-pull off or i-execute yung mga plano nila. It's also the things that make things work for them. May mga lapses here and there. May moments din si DFM naman na they are trying to shut down Talon, but the way that Talon gets back up, remember after that timeout, they did not hesitate to push despite na sila yung defenders and again, the series of strategies that Talon is putting into the table right now is so crucial for them, but at the same time really making their standings here na talagang sila ang deserving sa spot na to.
Last chance na ito para sa DFM. They need to get these rounds back. No more breathing space, no buffers para sa nila. It's all 4 straight. Tapos ang problema pa dito, wala silang purchase power whatsoever. Anthem, naka-vandal nga siya pero wala siyang shield. Tignan mo. And tapos si Garnets pa rin, meron pa rin siyang threat ng operator. Now even peeking dito sa A-short. I think it's the first time na ginawa niya ito through A-short. So baka hindi ito expect din ng DFM. Here we go. There's the pick para kay Soldam. Handang-handa na para sa pag-updraft niya. Pero these smokes are at least giving them a little bit of leeway. Pero nandyan na nga si Garnes. And this is a step in the wrong direction. Gustong habulin ni Soldam. Pero nandyan si Jit Boys para coveran ang kanyang teammate. 3 versus 5 na lang. And DFM's chances para makapunta sa champions are dwindling into the 0.000.1% na lang. Reyta, if he can get a kill, maybe the lockdown is gonna be accessible para sa kanya. Pero he doesn't know the Patifan is right in front of him. Pero teka lang muna, Reyta pumapalag. 100 HP, 2 versus 1. Reyta, siya ba ang tagapagligtas? Napakalaking bagay nito. May utility sa A-site.
May Oppa. Si Garnet ang pwede gamitin pag nag-pick siya dito, coming in from Cubby. And Reyta, at the same time, got the shoulder. 3K. And with that being said, Azuray, Talon proceeds to our brackets.
And that's gonna be Talon keeping the journey rolling. Imagine that. From the bottom of the bracket, they have to climb all the way to the top to even get a chance to get back sa biggest tournament of the year dito sa Valor. And they do it, and they shut down the Japanese representatives. We've said it again. We've said it before. We've said it again. DetonatioN FocusMe not really looking at any good at all. Both of these teams actually, Talon at DFM at the bottom of the barrel nung group stage nila. Pero DFM had the worst round differential. I think it was like 60 rounds losses. Sa Talon parang 10-20 lang ata. Very minimal. Pero you can really see the struggle dito ng DFM. They had some good rounds. They had some great clutch potentials. Pero Talon, once they have that synergy going, kita mo, they never really leave the ball dropped.
Totoo yan. At kapag nag-online na nga, actually, ito yung maganda din sa Talon eh. Kapag nakikita nila yung isa sa mga miyembro nila na nagpa-pop up, nai-influensyahan kasi sila. So, nangyayari, mas nagiging polish, mas nagiging hasa yung nagiging performance ngayon ng Talon. At nakita naman. Kasi it may not be the most smoothest performance from Talon, but at the same time, we can clearly see the improvement that they had for the past few months that they had time to really practice and prepare. At nakita naman ngayon eh. And this time, the shots were cleaner para kay Garnet, and the way that Garnet also like brings the opening para sa kanilang mga teammates to really go for the pushes, it's really more, clean kumpara sa noon. And look at that. 2-0 for Talon.
Yeah, yan na yung ating congratulatory fist pumps, and yan na. Magkakaroon na ng photo op dito ang Talon. And that's actually a lot being said din para sa Talon. A month or so lang that they had to figure out kung ano yung composition, yung lineup ng roster nila that would actually work out. Kasi they've been trying so many iterations during the group stage na. Sinabi na nga ito even on the other broadcast na it felt like it was just a little too late during that time. Pero LCQ, mukhang mas okay sila. They put Patifan on the controller. It looks good. They put Cruz still on his specific na initiative. It looks good. Garnet as the duelist, okay pa din. So these pieces para sa Talon, looking much sharper than it was before. And this is a good step if you are a Talon fan and a Thai region na hopium.
Definitely. Totoo yan. And syempre, GG's pa rin naman for DFM for having that valiant effort. I mean, we did see some of the highlights, especially for Anthem and Suggest. They do have a very good, tandem together. They do have a good combo. But then at the end of the day, it's really about, the results of, the team synergy. And for this one, Talon really pulled it through and through.
Yeah. So, that being said, they're gonna be stepping up na sa ating upper bracket dito, which probably I think the panel will be discussing in a little bit then. So for that moment then, again, huwag niyo kalimutan guys, nasa upper bracket din ang Team Secret. So, Siyempre,
alam niyo yan.
Pilipino tayo, kailangan rin i-point out yun. Pero if this is the Talon that is going to be challenging, let's say, Team Secret, kasi Talon is playing at the upper bracket. So every single opponent that they will be fighting also leads into Team Secret. If they reach that level, handa na ba ang Team Secret para sa ganyan? Anyways, hindi pa pala. Papakita muna namin ang aming mga mukha, syempre, guys. And one series lang pala tayo para sa ngayong araw. So maaga ating uwian, masaya ang ating simula dito sa ating APAC LCQ. Again, we still have a lot more days to come pa rin. And what's even more important na hindi natin makalimutan ng mga viewers natin ay single elimination ito. So it's really a one and done just to get a chance para makapunta sila sa champions.
Yes, indeed. At nakaka-excite kasi itong opening game pa lang natin. Nakita natin kung gaano sila ka-close, diba? And the fights were there, but Talon was able to make it through. So let's see how their journey is gonna go with the rest of the days. But for the rest of the days, Azuray, we know we have a lot more of games in store.
Yeah, so anyways, we're gonna give it to the panel na to discuss that series even further, guys.
Maraming salamat, Azuray and Saya. But there we go. GG's to Talon Esports. A clean 2-0 here on Ascent. And I just want to say na GG, well played talaga to DFM. We saw many valiant efforts, especially from Anthem. Ang ganda ng impressions of Manya, Takej, and Suggest. We had really nice timed util. Soldam, Rita holding down the front and the back. But in the end, Talon was the better team.
Talon talaga. Yung mga hinahanap natin na improvement nila. Actually, today, talagang nabawi nila. Yung mga overpicks, mga overhits. Although, may mga ginagawa pa rin silang ganun. But overall, this performance na some of them went back to basics. Kung ano ba talaga agent yung kanilang gagamitin, it all became clean. And that Patifan talaga on that Omen, talagang seated. Sobrang palong-palo.
Alam na talaga natin yan. That's the glimpse of the old Patifan na nakita natin today. Alam natin na, on KO, he's a little bit selfish pag kailangan ng team niya ng mga flashes niya, wala siya. Pero on the Omen, I feel like justified naman siya since he's lurking and he did justify it quite a bit. And yeah, sobrang ganda ng performance niya doon. Especially during those times na nakaka-lurk siya. And ang dami niyang value na nakukuha as the Omen. And yeah, I just love seeing Patifan, back to full form.
That's right. And I think na point out din na Azuray, like as you said, yung si Patifan on that Omen, I think na the rest of the Talon here on these roles, I think that they finally found yung perfect configuration nila. And very, very excited to see them moving forward into LCQ under this new configuration. And it's no question then na Patifan is our MVP kasi he really did a lot of great setups para sa team niya. Yung blinds niya were very, very well timed. And again, you have to applaud the whole team of Talon for how well they covered for each other, kung how they take up space, yung overall gunfighting ability nila. Yeah. You've got Garnets, you've got Foxy, you've got Cruz, and of course you've got Patifan.
And speaking of, imagine at 213 ACS, ilang kills ba siya nung first half? 17 kagad. So it's really good. And most of those rounds talaga na, even if we already feel na baka matalo yung Talon on Ascent, si Patifan talaga yung naging savior nila. Imagine, you're a guy na kaya mo naman mag-duelist at the same time, but then you're on that Omen, perfect na perfect sa kanya. Mga TPs, mga smokes, mga sariling flashes. Yung flash hindi niya ginagamit pag-entry, he's gonna use it when he's lurking. And it's really effective. If this is gonna continue to how Patifan performs, maybe Talon can get that strong chance talaga to be part of, syempre, our champions.
Yeah, even though, they do have a very long road ahead of them. Genji pa naman yung next na kalaban nila. I feel like they've gotten a little bit more discipline over the last couple months na hindi natin sila nakita. Kasi usually, diba, Talon, they used to tend to overheat quite a lot. And they kind of were a little bit inconsistent in that way. Pero ngayon, when they get that pick, immediately retreat and then play for each other, cover your homies. And it just felt a lot more polished yung play nila on Ascent today.
That's right. And speaking of, now that Talon has won here dito sa Day 1 natin, they will be moving on to Day 2 versus Gen G. So let's take a look at what our bracket is going to be looking like. Because after Gen G, they are going to be facing Team Secret. And that's not going to be an easy feat.
Oh.
But do you think na yung Talon that we're seeing today, do you think that this is enough to match Team Secret?
No.
Hindi ba? Hindi ba? Kailangan nila matalo yung Gen G bago natin ma-prove na meron talaga silang chance. Pero speaking of our matches tomorrow, di ba, nakita na natin na it's gonna be like RRQ versus Global Esports, then Gen G versus Talon.
Yes. Man, I feel like Gen G versus Talon talaga yung pag-uusapan natin heavily tomorrow. Because not only did Talon beat Gen G already in regular, in the regular season of VPL, I feel like Gen G, parang sobrang nailang sila sa Talon na yun. They really wanted to be able to prove na they could take this. So this is going to be a little bit more of a revenge match for them. And whoever wins that, syempre, hindi sila mananalo sa Team Secret.
That's right. But again, looking here on Day 1, unfortunately, ito na yung end of the road for DFM because this was, again, a single elimination. Pero it also is good to note kasi bukas, that's gonna be our last day of single eliminations followed by our double elimination bracket, which is gonna be with Zeta and Team Secret. So things, again, are looking very, very positive for Team Secret. And again, congratulations ulit kay Talon Esports because they've survived such a, I guess, a grueling hybrid elimination bracket.
Oh, ang hirap talaga. Imagine, that was really crucial. Ngayon na lang ulit sila nag-land. Ano bang meron yung DFM? But as for DFM naman, great run pa rin kahit pa paano. Hopefully, this amount of time that they will be having on a break, sana talaga makapagkuha sila ng desisyon kung anong ba yung magiging roster nila, paano ba sila mag-i-improve, and this long amount of time before we head on, of course, to lock in na naman or kaya here in the upcoming VPL.
Yeah, pero we gotta take note pa rin. This is only the start of the road for Talon Esports. Even though a lot of people online, they have a lot of confidence that Talon may be the ones to take this champion spot. Sobrang layo pa ng lalakarin nila. First of all, they have to get past Gen G. Then they have to get past Team Secret. And then they have to get past whoever wins against Zeta Division, or if Zeta Division wins that. So if Talon were to, make this miracle run, it will be the story of the entire Pacific.
That's right. Actually, yung bracket natin looks extremely, extremely short. Like, the road looks so short yet so long at the same time. But again, it is going to be another very grueling day tomorrow kasi tomorrow again is going to be single eliminations and it's definitely not going to be easy. And speaking of, global esports, I think na this is what all of our teams dito sa Pacific are trying to do. They're trying to kind of slim down that roster, move, to have lock in that 5-man team. And I think that's something that DFM definitely has to do. But I think Talon has successfully done it here.
Oh, speaking of nga sa global esports, ni Ronski nga, nag-retire na siya. So talagang may mga changes ngayon. I'm actually excited. Even yung mga nasa English casters, minention nila ano bang performance ni SQ Rossi, ano ba kagad yung magiging call ni Irene kasi ang ganda din ng kanyang excitement pagdating dito sa LCQ. So talagang it's now or never game na naman para sa matches bukas.
Yeah, but of course, you can't discount RRQ. Syempre, Pinoy buff yan, mga kaibigan. Andyan si Tuge, andyan si EJ. And yan, syempre, RRQ, one of the stronger teams talaga. A lot of teams are saying na they wanted to beat RRQ, diba, dun sa ating teasers kanina. So that's one of the teams to really look forward to, other than, of course, Team Secret.
Exactly. Actually, I think na a lot of teams dyan sa regular season natin during VPL, they were actually very shocked to see the strength of RRQ nung time na yun. But again, they're gonna have to bring it back here once again against Global Esports. But of course, they have something up their sleeve. But before we end out the day, guys, any final thoughts?
All I can say is good luck sa mga teams bukas. I'm low-key cheering for Talon and RRQ. So talagang sana maging workable yung mga gusto nilang plans here in the LCQ.
Yeah, and of course, sobrang ganda pa rin ang nakita natin today from Talon. But of course, it's kind of tragic to lose the DFM this early. But still, DetonatioN FocusMe. They have a long road ahead of them. This is not the end of their journey, syempre, especially with the changes that they've made to, their roster, their coach. So I think we can expect a lot more of them, pero later on na sila.
That's right. GG, well played talaga, and bawi next time. And again, congratulations kay Talon Esports for advancing into our brackets. But that's gonna be it dito sa VCT LCQ Filipino broadcast, and we'll see you again 3 p.m. tomorrow for our games with RRQ, Global Esports, Gen G, and Talon.
after the game ends, it's really break our heart.
Zeta Division will not be playing in Tokyo.
We won't give up. We will emerge.
Team Secret,
Global Esports,
Talon Esports,
DFM가
저희 젠지는
For the power of friendship 諦めないで勝ち上がります。もう一度チャンスがある大会なのかなと思います。